Yes, we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. So first of all, before I dey go any step, and before we dey even get with first viewer, where there's a problem, I must apologize because we are over half an hour late. Again, I repeat, I must apologize that we are over half an hour late. The half an hour late is due to some technical problems that have been experienced in the background and miscommunication between me and my guest and the technical team. However, I believe in the English parable we say better late than never. So here we are live. The continuation of the information for we people then will continue unabated. Unabated. It is a moral duty. It is a decent thing to do. It is a civilized thing to do. You cannot say one thing from one side of your mouth and say something else from the other side of your mouth. We know say posterity go dey on the side of fair play, fair judgment. I repeat, posterity go dey on the side of fair play. Those who stand up for the people, for the country. Definitely, posterity. Even if we don't understand it now, some of us. But when that judgment shall be passed, not by us, but by higher orders, by more intellectual minds, it will be a completely different thing. So, ladies and gentlemen, like I say, we are continuing a series of programs in which the aim and objective of this program, series of programs, which is exclusive, that's the meaning of exclusive. Now, for pass out information, remember we say on this platform, information is power. Information for our people so that they go understand the choices then we they make at this difficult period in our time is just right. We're not telling them what to say. We're just providing information so that then we're able for conjurent in the end of the mind and decide which way forward. Famulem, not too long ago, and the way I can describe them, we see a protest, as soon as I can see now the ticker where they roll beneath the screen. It bring back imaginations. When we reflect back some 2 decades ago plus, the interregnum, the civil war, as some of us call them, the streets of Freetown were rocked with violence. Not only the streets of Freetown, but also parts of the country, significant parts of the country were rocked with violence. Reminiscent of what happened some 20 some more years ago when the country erupted. And why the country erupt? Here we are. Because we problems were perennial. They remain perennial today. They are persistent, they are continuous, they are consistent. How do we change these dynamics? This is what we continue for do here. Now make we can try for inform Fambulem so that Fambulem go able for pass on the message to them when they were not able for tune live. Say, we need for reflect usa we come out, usa we day. Waiting be make we go, usa we been go today. We not been born good picking for the country. Where would they begin for see shadows or glimpses of them kind thing and day? This is what we are beginning to see again. The capturing of state institutions is very, very much present as we talk. It don't happen over a period of time, and it is happening even now as we speak. State capture is used or was used against the opposition from the onset, from the word go of the current government. It is not like state capture is new. Now, it make when we say something, we want let Fambule listen very keenly. State capture was always in the Sierra Leonean political playbook. In the 1960s, after independence, in the 1970s, in the 80s, it was even worse, culminating to what happened in the 1990s. This is how we got into the interregnum in the first place. Because why? The unfair sharing of the national pie, the missed opportunities, these opportunities, the kleptocracy, the cronyism, it be so rampant and obvious that it became unbearable for some. That the only way, even though we don't advocate for violence, never did advocated for violence, which obviously was going to be the last resort. But when the state don't consolidate in power centrally, don't capture the institutions which are supposed to be the guiding angels of with democracy, a fragile democracy, then it left to the people and sometimes to the caprices of some, because not everybody will come along. I tweeted recently that when change is about for come, some of the things the way they happen in order for bring everybody along, because not everybody they get the message concomitantly. Some will get it, others won't. It will be late for them and get them. But when we begin for assemble for bring that change, now only some will come, others will join later. So the things then where we see some many years ago, 2 decades plus ago, they are reminiscent of what we see today. But suffice me to say, Famble, that we went into a war, a civil war, which destroyed we country. Of course, it was already destroyed. In the 90s, we country was a failed state. Graduation was taking place without even an opportunity for people to be given jobs or an opportunity for them to have jobs. We once renowned university, universally renowned. We pride the Forabe College institution. With any one of us when we go out at the time, some of the things that we then go associate yourself with is Forabe College, one of the oldest institutions of learning. I mean, they produce people with no substance. Imagine that. A university which been get, some affiliation with universities them in the great United Kingdom, like Durham University. It became nothing. Why? Because everything about the state became so politicized. Everything was captured. And family, I know what happened? A lot of the people, and when I say a lot of the people, in this essence, because statehood require leadership. So we look up to the elite class, and the elite class not represent a single entity like a political party, but it represents an established class of intellectuals, politically, economically, and socially. The affluence in the society, people that way they shape the ground as to what we for expect. They became silent. Two aspects where I think say they became silent. Some became complicit with the rape, the plunder, and the looting of the state. The rape, the plunder, and the looting of the state because of their selfish desire for acquire more and more and more. More and more and more. Others, for fear of their well-being, their families, then decide for remain silent. Some of them even fled the country because they could not comprehend or phantom waiting be they happen at the country, or much more for give or accede to waiting them say was actually wrong. As a consequence of this, the state, as established in political power, begin for consolidate the power. And as they consolidate the power, which amount to state capture, the three arms of government, the judiciary, legislative, and in which case the parliamentary, and the executive, which is the most powerful, and they're supposed for work in tandem with each other, complement each other, but one is so extremely powerful that everything we then call power is dwell in that particular institution, and at that institution they dictate the pace. Definitely. In most recent times, pardon me for the history. Sometimes history is absolute, not even sometimes, all the time, history is absolute necessity. Because why? It gives you information as to where we are, where we were, where we are, and how we can forge our way forward as a people. But the institutions of state became complicit, and like I said earlier on, it's not new. The police in the 1990s, in the 1980s was used. The then IG was then brought into parliament where he had no business in parliament because it was a different function altogether. But the IG was brought into parliament. Okay. The first commander of the military, the late Joseph Saidu Momo, a man who helped for lead the country into a failed state, but where, as I speak today, I hold him in high regard and respect. And Fambulengo asks why. But of course, the simple answer is, within himself, as powerful as he was not arrogant. He wasn't at all. There was no shred of evidence that this man was arrogant. In other words, he came out and apologized to the people. He owned up and tell Salome people, look, I'm sorry. Look in the history of the world. How many heads of state so powerful have said those words? Come to the people and say, look, Fambulem, I'm sorry. I've failed you guys. But we need to start a new beginning. And that new beginning is what we see today. It was interrupted by a coup, where being led by Captain Strasser, in which the current president emerged into the political limelight with no experience at all, if I may add. But of course, it's important that the president be experienced, but away from that, he need forget a battery, a team who are experienced. Unfortunately, this is not the case. So now this current president emerge. So we see things that were happening in the 1980s and 90s happening again, the state capture of institutions that are supposed to police the state. And this central to this is parliament. Parliament, the duty of parliament, are for regulate the state, for police the state, through holding the government accountable, especially the opposition, because while you position yourself in a place so strategic that you want to form the next government. So your duty is for hold the government to account. I'm not saying that you don't work with the government on good policies, of course. Why shouldn't you? Because the greater good is what matters. That's about the state. But when we begin to see institutions of the state being captured and used against opposition, the police from the very genesis of this government was used. Enter the wells of parliament, a sacred sacrament, and disturb the very first sitting, which was intentional, by the way, because why? We do have the benefit of hindsight. There was a reason why. Because there was an intention for shape the political landscape of our country. So what you would see, it's not as a consequence of something new. It's not novel. I keep using this word lately, meaning new. It's not new. Some of us were following. And we've been to see that this was a deliberate intention for shape the political landscape so that certain people that will be hold power then and holding power now was to hold power perpetually or at least for a long period of time by muzzling democracy, closing the space so that there won't be active participation, muzzling the people so that they cannot express their democratic rights through draconian bills that were passed to laws with the complicity of the opposition party. Wait till we see the reasons why is because we get this monstrous president, this monster of a president that we all fear, that if we not do in bidding, imagine this, and I repeat, that if we not do in bidding, we all go down to the dungeons of hell, this great big black abyss. That's where we will end. And we've got families too. Oh, you never had family when you went to ask the people to vote for you. And to vote for you means that you are going to be representing their interest, constitutionally speaking, constituency-wise. You didn't know this? Didn't you? Now you say you are afraid of the president. That's a lame excuse, ladies and gentlemen. So we see the police go inside and this is one institution of the state. So the police as a state institution go enter inside deliberately used by the government for help shape the political landscape. Ladies and gentlemen, that represented the first capture of the state and by extension, the judiciary. The judiciary, which was then used for legitimize the rules of the game. Suffice me to say that every government does this when it comes to power, because power is so vested in the executive branch, then the executive, in other words, the president, he used this in extensive powers for consolidate he or herself in power, in this case, himself in power. But of course, you go always meet resistance because people are beginning to wise up. People are actually beginning to wise up. They are listening to channels. We get the unsung hero. This is the unsung hero of our time, the smartphones. That as it happen in real time, millions of people are getting the message in real time. This is our unsung hero, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm happy to own one. And millions of Sierra Leoneans do own one, and they are well informed. They are watching platforms such as ours and others, and at least in between, they get alternative voices. Not only voices for, but voices against, vis-a-vis, against, and for. But this is the case, Fambulem. This is actually the case. The state designed all the forceful law there for capture the institutions where eventually go shape the narrative as we they see. But as we they continue for meet resistance, we they see waiting they happen outside of their domain. Sometimes in complicity with themselves. Government do plan these things, by the way, and I'm not saying that before you get me word wrong. I'm not saying government did plan this one, but it's not impossible for government to have a hand in there. It's not impossible for two sides for collide or collude rather, forget an intended outcome. It's not impossible. If you go back to the history of the world, see why World War One was fought. Read why World War Two was fought. Sometimes the conventional narrative is not the reality of the story. You have to go beyond the story for fend the story itself. Read about the Gulf of Tonkin. See why the war in Vietnam was fought. Some people been calling conspiracy at the time, but with the benefit of hindsight, we now know exactly why it was fought. Do you know that the Israelis stray a U.S. warship just forget the U.S. for go to war? And this is supposed to be their ally? So there's a lot of this, but it's called conspiracy theory. But when you're lazy, you don't want to go beyond the real story, you are left wondering that, yes, indeed, these could be right and the others could be wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, the matchup to USA Wideso also involved a lot of things. The abuse of power, the unfair share of the wealth, the reckless abuse of the financial laws them, appropriating budget for the office of the first lady, which is unlawful and illegal, and then try for tell we something else, as if we don't know, because we are supposed to be fools, or then take we for be the 1980s, not even the 1980s, the 1990s, picking them, we born during the war, because those of us were born during the 1980s and beyond, at least we know something, and we're not just to take things at face value. The unlawful dismissals of Sierra Leoneans, not foreigners, by the way, if I can emphasize on that, hundreds of them were dismissed, unlawfully dismissed, on the premise of, academic background. But then upon investigation, we know that it was politically motivated and it was politically targeted. Where you from? What's your name? And etc. and etc. etc. We also saw in this case, as one set of people were being sacked, they were being replaced by others. And who were the others? Well, I will left that assignment there with you now. Would I eventually replace the others? Okay? But I will give you now one clue. We know say party activists them, which they happen all of the time. If government was to change hands now, party activists will be part of the state structure who are benefiting. Sometimes there's nothing wrong with that, but it just depends on how una they carry una self. Is it in the interest of the state, or is it just because you want loot, you want plunder? Is it based on selfish designs? Fambulem, there is so much that is ongoing in our country. And some of the things then where we they see, or the things then where we they see, is as a consequence of that beginning where I call the shaping of the political landscape by the capturing of state institutions, then gradually, where some of us not been picked up during that early stage day, which was, i.e., the capturing of parliament. Parliament. the abuse of that sacred place called the Well of Parliament, in which police officers entered and abused elected officials of government, elected officials of the legislative body, the parliament, expelled them out of parliament, abused parliamentarians. But of course, some of them were left there. Not all of them went, like the leader of the opposition in the House now. And one interesting story is the leader in the House now, remember, it may stand an election at a constituency. We not one day mention this, but of course, nothing will be happening, and it's not like a secret. And his name was among those expelled. Waiting up in the arrangement when we can return back to parliament. Well, we all get an obligation and responsibility for do with due diligence. Because I'm not going to go into that because some people may not take that. And I don't even know, I just the and come up that he was one of those names, but for so and stood against the presidents in nephew or in cousin. And there was much hoo-ha about that particular constituency. But the leader of the opposition in the House now emerged victorious. Should I dare to ask, was it the beginning of a collaboration with Ra, 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 Ra? And again, not hold me responsible. This is just my brain ticking, my brain teaser for you as things are beginning to unfold. So like I say, as we reach to this point now where we see violence on the streets of Freetown and other parts of with their country, where we think say we will not put this BNW, here we are again as a consequence of waiting that happened, state capture, the maligning or marginalization of one set of people against another, and we all supposed to be Sierra Leoneans, by the way. The national pie belongs to every one of us. But why one group of people continue for suffer, another group of people continue for recklessly, through financial indiscipline, financial misappropriation, reckless spending, against the own thing where President Bio tell we, say executive order number 1, which was so impressive, we make people begin for, including myself, begin for go towards them, that maybe there is a new dawn. I made an argument for this president. He was young when he took power. He not even finish in probation, or in probation letter, the ink not even dry day for say you've passed your probation. He was asked to leave, and 20 some more years later he come. But if you've been there na the background, na the horizon, you dey watch wetin dey happen. I even make that same argument there or analogy say, he been get a blank slate where he dey write with in pencil, where he dey write because he been always get the intention for come back. So as he dey write, if he not go right, he get the power of the eraser for erase and make or edit, whatever he don't input there. So when he can get this opportunity, 20 some more years later, which one of you not be expect better for we country? Look, don't give me this BS about Ukraine-Russia war, because we economic strangulation started a long time ago. It is started on February 24 when Russia invaded Ukraine. No. Gradually, we'll begin see money they come out. Money laundering, basically. Office of the First Lady. Violation of we financial, act them. Violation of we, how they call and we local government act. In other words, complete disregard for the constitution. Certain things they're really not strange waiting happen. So, Usa we did because it's been boiling under. We see parliamentary bills them when Keguna Parliament for go turn into law. One of them most recently was the Public Elections Bill. We be laced with draconian rules. We go disadvantage Sierra Leoneans. Mind you, the people are supposed to vote for the country for decide who leads them. But yet, inside that Public Elections Bill, they get embedded things them inside that bill they where for actually disadvantage with people. And that goes inside the house of the people. If we now go to me earlier broadcast them 4 years ago, beyond, I call parliament the house of the people, because the people who occupy the house largely are people who were sent there by the electorates. So the obligation then owe unto the electorates, and therefore they should be working in the interest of the electorates. Have they? I go left that question there with you now. And there is so much more. So much more. But the absence, ladies and gentlemen, of voices. I watched one video this morning. I think that Dr. Moina, not to the education minister, no. There is a doctor, I believe he lives here, either an engineer or a scientist, one of them. By accident, he made an impassion plea for Sierra Leoneans them for see reason. Because waiting happens, so the reality of is political and it not bode well for the country. Because we have been looked outside at a time where they try for men fences as look at these brutes, look at these crooks, look at them again after we've come to help them. Ladies and gentlemen, something serious they happen. Before I introduce my guest, make I just play this short clip. Take a listen, ladies and gentlemen.
He's going to grow up without a right hand.
Right, ladies and gentlemen, once more, just a quick reminder. This is the T&N TV Media Empire. This is what we do here. We bring the news to you unlike anyone else. And I am Prince Emil Krumah. They come to Una today, the 12th of August, 2022. Stay tuned. I will introduce my guest shortly. Right, ladies and gentlemen, like I've been saying, me now una host Prince Emil Krumah, and I'm full of enthusiasm. I am so pleased to be hosting this particular guest who I've hosted many a time. Why? Because we are having a conversation about our country, which is real. It depends on what you take away from there. So without much ado, I want to introduce our guest today, who is no stranger, Mr. Chernoh Alphabet. Chernoh, welcome to the program once again today and now. Very excited for see you, and I know you all pumped up. I don't think of course, you're familiar faces in the homes of millions of people. Can you give me an update as to where we are today, based on what happened within the last 3 days? Because I already said there's plenty of recrimination and government position, opposition position, and many things that happen on social media, and you have been scourging and scoring all over the place, you're looking for news and waiting people in the sea. So that formed the basis of part of the conversation here today.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate the fact say you continuously and courageously they still bring me on this platform for talk about or try to provide truth to the people in the midst of the ongoing treachery that we continue to witness. And we say this without apologies to those who are really responsible for what is happening now in Sierra Leone. And I say I have to thank you for your courage, because as you already know, you said you testified, you did receive a lot of attack, and as a consequence of your decision, not for a refuse for bringing me on your platform. I have been a journalist in Sierra Leone for at least a minimum of 20 years. I have spoken and written about political activities of the SLPP under Tijan Kaba. I have also covered and spoken about developments in Sierra Leone under 10 years of Ernest Krumah, and I continue to talk about developments and as in the unfold under the current regime of Madabiu. So when I talk about Sierra Leone, I'm not talking about it from a point of view. I get a historical background of my engagement with the political leaders on the ground. And I say this as to start off to say that in all these 20 years, we not ever witnessed a situation where And this type of follow-up to the history that you just read about, that you just talked about, which I was so impressed. And at some point, I don't even want to make you stop, because it speaks to one thing: the collective silence and collaboration of the political elite across parties in the APC, in the SLPP, and other smaller parties in parliament for plunge the country into war and crisis and conflict, because they want to protect their own selfish interest. I know the supporters of these parties are being told not to listen to truth, not to listen to us, not to share this information, and these are the interest groups that will become affected. And this is not a surprise, because as I remember, there are basically no radio stations or media institutions who are willing to get this with voice into the country. Not because we are not saying, we are saying things that they do not want, and not because that just ruling party no more. The opposition politicians are also working, we've talked about this, working actively to make sure that people do not get access to the truth that's unfolding in the country. And if I remember, those of you who have been following me, at least, if not to say way back 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, 20 years ago, or if not a few days ago, I have been talking about what is unfolding now. I tell you, I say, with a deal with state capture, that Madabio don't succeed for dominate and hold all the institutions in the country, including parliament, not only hold by arrest them by force, but also there is a willing collaboration of opposition leaders in parliament with the government for continue for maintain this dictatorship. Part of their arrangement to make sure that Madabio gets a second term at all costs, all to the CISO, not get nothing for do other than the desire and willful determination of Madabio not for left power. And he's not doing it alone or with his party people alone. He's doing it with active and hidden support of the APC in parliament and other politicians in parliament. We don't talk about this. About 2 months now, this is not the message we will tell you now. We even call on APC members, old and new, young and old, and tell them, say, for making us understand the problem now in our party, you people need to carry out an independent investigation of the parliamentary wing of the party, especially the parliamentary leadership of the party, and that the flag bearer ambition and intention hidden of the parliamentary wing of the party then don't plunge the party into crisis. That was something that perhaps some people in the APC know about, old people in the APC know about, but many of the young people who support the party at the lower level do not know about. And there's nothing wrong in wanting to lead your party. Nothing wrong with that. What we found wrong is the fact that these politicians in parliament who want to lead this party are willing to go at every length, including for frame up and support the framing up of their own party comrades, party members, party leaders with the state, so that they will be cleared of the way, so then we'll take charge. This is what you're dealing with. This is the crisis that we're dealing with, and which is why I appreciate this naming of this program as the crisis of democracy in Sierra Leone. Indeed, it's a crisis of democracy in Sierra Leone. And that crisis is made possible because selfish politicians in the opposition are in alliance with ruling party politicians for defend a system that has impoverished, that is corrupt, that is decadent, and that has all the vices. We don't produce this crisis. So we don't produce these deaths. Yesterday in our discussion, we talked about the fact that both the police officers and the civilians who die, these are ordinary people who are victims of state capture. Their deaths and the violence that we speak of is the violence that has been orchestrated by political groups in the country who want to protect Madabio in power. Way back, if I remember, since June 20, when we exposed parliament and parliamentarians collectively, both SLPP, APC, and all the parliamentarians say they want to pass a secret law, a bill in a parliament way for them make sure say, the ordinary citizens of Sierra Leone, especially opposition supporters. These opposition supporters now that have been called terrorists in Freetown, in Makeni, in Karina, in Putloko, and other parts of the country that are opposition strongholds. were basically going to be prevented from registering because the members of parliament, together with the ruling party, they try for pass a law where them called the Public Elections Bill. Inside that law, they been get what them called the National Identification Number. That law, they for make sure say we now within at the north, within at the western area, and similar parts of the country where don't fed up with Mother Bill and want for vote for a different option, we will not for be able for vote. And if we not be shout and bring that thing to the public and force the MP them, the members of parliament may not pass that law, therefore, like this crisis when I see so, I bet not say not for me happen. Because if they been passed that law, like right now, the politician them comfortable say many of them away registration for start on September 4. We're not able for register because I not get NIN. Then the parliamentarian they again, therefore being comfortable because now they get a proportional representation in the legislation. We for allow them for going to parliament without any relationship with the constituency. So now that prevent parliament, this alliance between the opposition and the ruling party for make law, for use parliament, for protect Mother Bill, for make sure say if suppress voters them from voting, now you don't add to the problem. When I remember since then, from July 27 up to July 28, where Parliament finally find out say they're not able to pass this law again. Now that day, now around that same time day again, that same weekday, now in the APC 21-man committee begin fet. We say they say Alfred Peter Conte don't appoint people they're supposed to appoint. The 12-man committee, the young lawyer, the lawyer in the committee write to PPRC say then the whole meeting. So we get this crisis. Then we begin talk now say, after we don't stop the law, we begin draw our attention to the fact say the APC as a political party, as the main opposition party in the country, not get any legal structure. They not get ward executive, they not get district executive, they not get constituency executive, they not get regional executive, they not get national executive, they not even get diaspora executives. The executive structure of the APC was dismantled by the SLPP through the use of the court, the use of a judge. We not qualify, somebody will not qualify for be a judge. We begin as say, even the 21-man committee, both factions, Alfred Peter Conte and Group O, the group where they under the parliamentary leader, they're all supposed to be dissolved. We even asked when I say, it's high time when I try for ask them people they have for step aside, make una fair way for organizing a party. So now what do we get? As we bring that discussion, people they begin to wonder. For say, some of them don't begin to ask questions. They ask them parliamentarian, I made them explain. And when I don't begin to see the argument, say, yes, this is not true. For say this 21-man committee, they're not only illegal, but how a court will not get right for appoint executive for itself, decide to appoint them parliamentarian and they accept. These are questions that we would have been not supposed to ask. And a group of people in the APC don't even begin, when they don't see the problem, don't even begin to talk about how to solve, how to make peace. Some of them support, some of them don't begin, some of the leaders away, no one peace na the party, no one the party organized. Then begin tell their supporters who made them cause other people that make cause na the party. We try to make peace. There's nothing wrong with peace. Because even now, what in the international community talk about reconciling the differences in the country. When conflict day, when argument day, when palaver day, inside household, inside organization, inside country, the next thing we're going to talk about now peace. So when somebody talks about they can't make peace, then people and they inside the same group where they pamphlet talk say, then they cost them one and they not for make peace. When I for begin asking ourselves, who are the people and the party we don't want in the group we don't want peace, where they cause peacemakers. So that day when I for start, then when I for begin asking ourselves why this revolt we don't happen so, we don't cause the loss of lives happen just 2 weeks after we stop parliamentarian them from passing this dangerous law. And it also don't happen almost 2 weeks before the start of registration. It almost happened the same almost 1 week before the APC will begin to talk about the construction or the composition of an election management committee where for begin organizing a party. Now we're going to get legal structures. We tell you now say the Mother Bill na two strategy one for use for rogue the election made in a power. One, na through parliament, we don't control. For make them pass law, we go make sure that people are not able for vote, or law we go allow them for determine the result of the election by having this extraordinary power for sack electoral commissioner on so-called grounds of misconduct and proportional representation, boundary delimitation, so I go reduce APC citizen at the western area and other parts of the country, the fake census and all them here. So now we don't fight till we don't begin again now an opportunity for make everybody register without NIN. Registration won't start. What did not happen? From nowhere now, arguments about protest, no protest, don't start, protest don't happen, police don't come out, violence don't take place, the killings are still ongoing in the country. Now they worry about ongoing raids. Police, they go to people in the house and for to the area, they pull people and they kill them at night, whether not true now or not, but investigation supposed to happen for find out that. What do you mean one for say? All of these events, not to accident, not to coincidence. Now, there is a direct relationship between the exposure of the alliance between parliament and the ruling party and the exposure of the fact, say, the 21-man committee, an illegal committee, and what has happened now with the ongoing deaths and the response of the government. And if I watch my own Facebook post, I don't see this. I saw it. And I post about it. I talk, say, we have almost 9 months to elections. If the time where they pull 10 APC MPs them, will not be see revolt. The time when they appoint SLPP MPs then will not see this kind of situation. We don't come to a point up to where they dismiss the Auditor General. We not see revolt. Parliaments are okay. The census, okay. Now we don't begin to draw people's attention, say we need free and fair elections. Because the government, they win a bad government, after election they can. And the constitution, they against the overthrow of a government, whether verbally. So when you organize a protest in the first place, you make it as a primary demand, the removal of an elected government, that's a treason. Treasonable offense. But we want to make people know, say, the same way civilians or citizens can organize protest, government can also organize protest against himself because they want to arrest people. They can do one. They can engineer. That don't mean say the conditions for protest not exist in a country. But we don't face with a government we want to do all kind of things for making left in power. And we talk, say, Mother Bill, there is no way he's going to win a free and fair election. No way. You're not going to win free and fair election. So the only way we can remain in power now for make sure, say, it thief the election. And you're not going to thief this election if the opposition no help them for thief the election. And we don't talk, say, the only way the opposition would help them for thief the election now for make it get an opposition candidate where you don't agree with for say the opposition candidate will allow one for make it stay in power 2028. You say after your own turn and me own turn go come. And within the opposition, there are people who are willing to do that. We don't point about this. This is why we are asking you to investigate your parliamentary wing of the party. In fact, if APC get leadership right now, is the parliamentary leader of the party. So if there is crisis where the government, they talk about, say, they accuse the opposition of terrorism, of all kinds of things, it should not be the interim illegal chairman that should speak for the party. It should be the parliamentary leader of the party. Because the parliamentary leader of the party, according to the court, Naim represent the totality of APC membership. So he should be the one making statement on BBC and CNN or any other place in defense of the party, not a chairman that is appointed by a judge who is not qualified to practice law in Sierra Leone. This is not the situation where politicians create a problem, hiding behind the scenes and allowing other people to take responsibility for their own machinations. The APC, members of the APC, why are they focused on APC? Because the government not get nobody accused of causing the problem. It's in APC. Not only that, they don't call APC citizens of Sierra Leone who they believe are supporters of APC as terrorists. There is no investigation as alone right now. We establish, say, the demonstrations will happen, na APC organizer, na APC orchestrator, or people the way they free to way demonstrate. So because that area where people in the vote for APC, that means if they demonstrate the APC people, it's possible people who did that demonstration might have come from other places of the country. For make you understand how the states can operate, look at what we have in America now. Because David Francis yesterday, they tried to draw a parallel between what happened in the United States on January 6th during Trumpian period and what happened at Salon. These are two different situations where you try to say. But this is the thing. The government in power that then was accused of orchestrating the demonstration because Trump wanted to hold on to power. So if David Francis wants to draw a parallel to that kind of situation, the logical parallel here is how about the question for, say, the government will want to make this kind of situation happen because Madabio want to use them as an opportunity for clamp down on opposition politicians that he fears to contend with or compete with in the election. Mind you, he don't try to use parliament for pass law for prevent we from voting. He don't try to use the court for accuse other people them so that then people are not able to compete, use the court for say to exclude them. That's a process that's ongoing. You know the famous case of Samura Kamara. And we keep insisting. If the case against him has to do with the chance rebuilding, we will publish, Africans will publish the story, no say there is no evidence there that links him to the chance rebuilding. But he is being roped into that constitution because some of the opposition politicians say that they advise, who are working with him, and they advise to make them put the case now ahead. And they want that because they want him out of the way. So they can be the beneficiaries of the exclusion of a candidate who has mobilized the APC base. And this true hold on begin talk about, they make for me, they hide the truth, then deliberately crisis don't come in the country now. So that what we talk about is the violence of the police, the killings that are taking place, which are really issues to be talked about. But for me to understand, why can't we pause and ask where did this thing start? How all of a sudden, as we near election, we don't get a situation down a martial law again at the country. The ruling parties accusing opposition politicians of committing crimes. We've just listened to an interview of the interim chairman of the illegal 21-man committee of the APC imposed by the court, by the ruling party. We don't dismantle the APC. That chairman of the party is accusing, is almost agreeing that yes, there are few elements within the party who were part of the past executive, supposedly, who were gallivanting around the country and calling themselves stakeholders. Is that if you're a true party member, every member of your party, whether they are gallivanting or not, whether they are supporters or not, you should even be concerned that somebody calling himself an APC member or APC supporter or APC sympathizer is being called a terrorist by the government. Where is the evidence that the people, all of those people who were out on the streets and engaging the police were APC members? Do they have APC party cards? Do they have APC, were they dressed in APC uniform? And where is the evidence that the demonstration was orchestrated by people who were part of your past executive? There's no evidence yet. There has never been any investigation. As the incident happened, the president promised an investigation on his Twitter. 24 hours later, no investigation has happened. His foreign minister has already accused the opposition of committing the crime. Then everyone in the government is saying it's terrorism. It's now in the international media that the APC created it. Where is the evidence? And why do you think the demonstration should only happen in areas where they think it's an APC stronghold? Because the hardship in the country is suffered by everyone. We then sit at home. We saw images of people in Bo and Kenema who were basically also on a sit-down strike. But make us say this, even when they sit at home, when the very opposition politicians, including their lawyers of the opposition, who are tied to this 21-man committee and the parliamentary wing of the party, we are saying that the people have a right to protest without police permits, which is correct. But the question is, why this parliamentarian and the parliamentary leadership, if they believe people have a genuine right to protest without police permit, why they not be joining the protest? While people were sitting at home, these parliamentarians were in parliament for all those 2 days. Some of them were on television. In fact, the members of the 21-man committee were on AYV on the beginning of the sit-at-home strike, arguing about who should be, who is the legal committee or not. They argue in AYV. We have that video. We posted it. And then when the situation got intense, me talk and say, it's strange that 9 months to election, they are talking about protest, when in actual fact, the conditions for the removal of Madabio through democratic means exist in the country. All while the opposition or anyone who is ready to vote Madabio out or to seek a replacement for him, they should prepare for the elections. But anybody that's looking for chaos or encouraging a state orchestrated violence will be providing a pretext for the government for use that as the basis for clampdown on opposition and muzzle people there. That is where we are. Now, because the government don't fail for use parliament, for pass a bad law for exclude people then, and almost done they fail now for use the judiciary for accuse other people of corruption and remove them from the competition, then they use the police and the military for go after people and now for suppress citizens of Sierra Leone who they believe are not supporters of the government. Politicians who they believe are also not in their good books. The question is, why even members or the chairman of the interim committee of the party, of the illegal committee of the party, would think, say, yes, there are a few elements that might be perhaps implicated in this kind of situation? Why will he say that the actions of these few people not represent the actions of some of them? And why this is the individual, with all the experienced people you have in the party, with all the experienced people you have, both old and young, and including the parliamentary leadership of the party, why is it that it's novice that you appointed as chairman that should be speaking in international media on behalf of the party in such a critical situation when the presidency and the entire cabinet is accusing an opposition, leading opposition party of being terrorists in the country and their supporters? I mean, is that what we should be talking about?
Right,
Why
Chernoh.
not talk about the empaneling of an independent investigation, asking even international institutions to investigate the deaths of these people and the violence that has happened?
Oh
By the
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, an independent institution. Um, um, you mentioned something earlier on. We're quite critical to this conversation that we are having, and especially with you, campaign for expose certain things. That is the 21-man committee, which is divided now between the parliament and others. Nine, I believe, and then 12. So the leader of the 9-man, because basically that's a faction now. The leader of the 9-man, where happened for be Alfred Peter Conte, made a speech or said something publicly. And I be one you talk about them briefly in your opinion, and I be one that you lay emphasis on them because that obviously explain or help for explain some things then we the general public or the general public need for understand. What can we read or take from in the bigger picture of things? What can we take from this Alfred Conte interview? In the bigger scheme of things, if you understand what I mean, what can we take from that interview there?
In fact, if we take the argument between the committee, each one of the committee members, they were divided. That Alfred Peter Conte in 9-man committee and the 12-man committee, they know they take decisions together. So the question here is Alfred Peter Conte speaking on behalf of the APC or is he speaking for himself? That's what we have to understand, apart from the illegality surrounding the committee. The fact of the matter is that you have an ununited committee. So which means that for make somebody speak on behalf of the committee, before we come to the statement, the content of the speech in itself is suspect.
So
Yeah.
okay, Chernoh, will you just
So,
pause there? Will you just pause there? Again, can you provide a background or understanding for us? Assuming either way, it is speak for committee, which is clearly not because they're at loggerheads. So he's speaking in behalf of himself and a faction apparently where he kind of represent.
exactly.
So draw the distinction for we
So
on
yeah.
potentially why this could be happening.
So there are two factions in the committee. One faction made up of 12 people, including 8 MPs who were appointed or selected through the leadership of the parliamentary leader. So basically, these two factions represent one, the parliamentary leader on the one hand, and Alfred Peter Conte and whatever interest he represents on the other hand. Leading up to this protest, we've seen the crisis in the committee where both factions were arguing over legitimacy. And we came out and said both factions are illegitimate because they are the result of a court appointment. Basically, these are agents of the state. Both factions are agents of the ruling party in the opposition because they became leaders or caretakers of their party after the dismantling of all the structures of the party and the handing over of the party to them by the court, not only by the court, by a judge that is not qualified to practice law in Sierra Leone, according to the.
When you say handing over of the party by the court, is there an intention there? Is there a
Of
design
course,
there?
of course, of course, of course.
Educate us then. I mean, we need
No,
for
we don't talk.
understanding.
We don't talk about this
I
because the
know, but
point.
every time we need for talk
Yeah,
about
the point here that we have to establish is that the APC in itself say they were denied parliamentary majority by the court. The court appoint 10 SLPP members or replace 10 forcefully removed elected APC parliamentarians. That same court now also remove the APC executive, standing executives from the national executive right down and handed the party over through a court ruling to the parliamentary leadership and the other faction led by Alfred Peter Conte and the lock-in interest that surrounds him. And apart from the fact that both factions, no court will determine the executive of a political party, which we have spoken about and talked about, and say that both factions are a problem to the party. They not represent the totality of the interests of party members. In fact, they are both pursuing hidden flag bearer intentions and flag bearer ambitions, which do not align with the interests of the party. And as far as we are concerned, the same parliamentarians, for example, who are part of this committee, were in parliament trying to pass a dangerous legislation to the extent that we have to mobilize the country for forced enough to do that. And the crisis now the committee then erupt immediately after we prevent them from passing this law. Now, while we are in the process of showing the illegality of the committee and also their allegiance to the state, that is when a protest is now ignited in the country. And now violence don't happen now because people have lost their lives. What we are hearing from the government is that this violence and the people who perpetrated it are supporters of the opposition. And not just all the opposition politicians who they think were in the past executive.
Exactly. And whilst an investigation has not yet been carried out.
While an investigation has not even been carried out by anyone, whether independent or subjective or state.
So it's clear we begin for see the intentions.
So and here, the government already get an intention.
Absolutely.
The same intention with them get for pass this law together with them politicians that they talk about the parliament for prevent people and for opposition supporters from being able to vote. Now then they don't translate out and they use the army and the police for create violence so that the way will also use that as a way for two things. For same suppress people and from voting, because now with this violence where they happen soon at the country, the killing of innocent civilians and citizens of the country, if them begin to say they maintain the electoral calendar, would I go come on the street for go even register for vote? So we talk and say this violence will encourage Mother Bill no one left power for postpone the elections, or it will even affect the electoral calendar. It's not because we don't want protest. No, we know say this kind of protest, it serve the interest of the country. They help the people then for arm them with the required energy where they don't mobilize for vote against Mother Bill. Now the politicians they try for waste in the effort for making them hide their own intention. The parliamentary wing of the party has every reason and every ambition and every interest for making sure that they protect themselves from being exposed, that they are agents of the ruling party in the opposition. The 21-man committee and the people they represent have an interest in protecting themselves. And if an independent investigation is to be carried out in Sierra Leone, they will be held responsible for the deaths that have happened, the deaths of innocent citizens. I will say it, and I will stand by it as well. If an investigation is carried out...
So I think we lost guest there briefly.
No, I'm here.
Obviously, this is internet connection.
I'm here.
It does happen.
I don't know if you're hearing me.
But just for continue, we are having a conversation with the editor, one of the editors of the Africanist Press, a man who has consistently been revealing stories to us, which has captivated the minds, hearts, and souls of Sierra Leoneans. News, of a different kind that we've never experienced before. Now your political lives being brought to us in real time through the power of the unsung hero, our smartphones. Chernoh, you're back. You were saying something. We lost you briefly.
No, I was here. I think that the network on the end.
Yeah.
They talk about the fact say if investigation happen at Salone right now, a holistic investigation There is no way a government can just come out and conclude, say, protests don't happen, people then don't die. When the president is out of the country, he left the country for then the thing happened behind. As he reached to the first way, say that the opposition are responsible with no investigation, which means he already had a premeditated script, a premeditated plan, because when a spontaneous protest now happen, you know, we just come on and talk say in opposition responsible.
So let me play the devil's advocate quickly. So yeah, there is a possibility that there was a premeditated plan. But there's also, this is the president, is getting real-time information, even if he's outside of the country. That preliminary, not on top of the state-of-the-art investigation, but he's getting live reports as to waiting to happen and waiting the cause, waiting to happen, and those that are responsible. So could he be going along with that line based on waiting in intelligence? They tell him, say, well, this is being caused by the All People's Congress. Is there a possibility?
No, the point here is that in tweet, the president say a full-scale investigation is going to be done. And you cannot investigate without the empaneling of an investigative panel. Okay, for example, when Madabiub in the campaign, Iguna Bo for campaign in 2012, leading up to the 2012 elections, there were incidents of riots happened between SLPP supporters and some people who they believed were also non-SLPP supporters, to the extent that Madabiub, at the time as a leading candidate of the SLPP, was stoned, hit by a rock on his head. Then what did we witness? There were incidents in Chernoh and in Bo. The former president at the time appointed an investigative panel to look into these violent incidents. And I do remember they were made up of representatives from civil society, SLAJ, and a couple of other people. They investigated and came out with a report. Now there's a difference between whether the government acted on the report and recommendation of the report or not. But the fact of the matter is, what was done first and foremost was the empaneling of a committee to investigate. You get the shares, Moses Commission for Inquiry, investigative panel, and all of these things. The Kelvin Lewis investigation that was done in some of these incidents. But here we have an incident that happened in Pademba Road, nothing. Instead, the president came out and called the opposition terrorist. Now here, we don't get an event in less than 24 hours after the event, with the declaration of martial law, instant curfew. What did we get was an accusation, the foreign minister and leading officials in the administration, including the president, saying on international media and national media in front of the international community that this is an act of terrorism, and the terrorists are basically supporters of the APC because they believe anyone who lives in Freetown, who is in Makeni, who is in other places where these supposed protests have happened and where the deaths have occurred, are basically places no other person would do but other than APC supporters. So you see how in their mind they've already balkanized the country regionally and ethno-regionally. So anything that happens in the north or supposed APC strongholds, now APC people there. And then not only APC people, when they say APC in Makeni, APC leaders in Makeni, who are they talking about? They're talking about Anes Kuruma. When they say APC in Karina or Kamakwe, what they're pointing at Kamalu, they're pointing at Samura Kamara. And for me, if you remember, I had posted about this. I say, anybody that is talking about, if the politicians believe, say there's protest, why can the members of parliament, they are part of the people. If there's a so-called movement for people in politics that's talking about genuine demands for protesting against hardship, protesting against, there are protests happening all over the world. But these protests, in our own case, there was nothing wrong in having the leaders of the people being with the people and helping the people for express their grievances. But what will lead to this? We can review. In the last 4 years, Parliament has never addressed the issue of corruption. Parliament has never addressed the issue of wages. Okay? Now we publish April, how policemen and soldiermen they get lower wages and salaries compared to civil servants. We even show example of 30 finance officials in the Ministry of Finance whose salaries could pay over 1,700 officers, including lieutenant colonels and colonels in the army. When we say the police officers who went out on Wednesday, for go on August 10, for go quell down or put down protest that ended up into violent confrontation between them and citizens. These are badly paid police officers. Many of them do not make more than 1,100,000 leones. They are victims of the state of exploitation and corruption in the country. We raised their salary issue. What did Parliament do in April and May? Instead, in May, before Parliament, for 2 years, they've been holding on to a bill that has to do with wages and compensation commission for harmonized salaries. They refused. Instead, Parliament decided to bring in a welfare bill for parliamentarians and give themselves salaries that will be even more than 20 times, 40 times more than the ordinary worker. Basically, parliamentarians advocated for themselves. They refused to pass a law that would benefit all of the civil service workforce. So if you talk about hardship, that because the families and the parents of workers in the public sector, in the civil service, have been paid badly, their salary not even buy for them bread. Conditions of living has gone up. Petrol prices going up. Everything is going up. Parliamentarians in the midst of the crisis did not talk about let us pass the wages and compensation bill we go allow we for harmonized salaries in the civil service, increase condition of service, improve condition. Instead, they decided to pass a welfare bill for themselves. These are the MPs that we've been one for pass that law secretly. Way for make sure the majority of the people that were in the call terrorists now not for able to register for vote. Now the very MPs that now also in the illegal committee, the 21-man committee, one of them representing one of the factions is saying, almost agreeing to the accusation that they are members of their party, especially of the past executive, who are gallivanting around, who might perhaps be responsible for what's happening, basically agreeing to the accusation.
Chernoh, let me ask you this. I know you barely deal with individuals. You talk about substance, things of substance, institutions, policies, and you name it, things that are really relevant. But sometimes individuals are caught up in these arguments. What's your take? I don't know whether I'm putting you on the spot, but what's your take on this 9-man committee chairperson, Alfred Peter Conte? What's your opinion about him? Because you've been following Sierra Leonean politics for over 2 decades. You know these players, these main players. You are familiar with them. You are affair with the politics of Sierra Leone. But in the case of Alfred Peter Conte, what are your thoughts? Because that might help to define exactly how people may tend to think as to how he's operating.
I don't really know him. To be honest with you, I not sabi, apart from what I hear in the media, I've never met this character. But I do know by observing him that he knows nothing about politics. Okay? And he knows nothing about politics. He doesn't even understand the issues in the first place. And this is the purpose. The government will not hand over a political party to an experienced politician, in the sense that they will not, because this is why even the parliamentary leader of the party, who is the most experienced among the so-called organized leadership of the party as it is right now, will have been the best person, will get the majority share of the committee, is hiding behind the scenes. He should be the person speaking now for the party. If anybody for talk for APC right now, for be the parliamentary leader, the Honorable Cherry Coco, now for come out.
So why you think again, in your view, why was it done as such by the judiciary or the justice?
Yes, because it provides it's a disabling effect. Where you take an inexperienced individual and make him a chairman, the chairman is just it's like a mirage by itself. You don't understand? In the real sense of the word, when you check the 21-man committee, those 9 men, and these are the argument between them a few days ago, whether the 9 men can act on their own or the 12 people can act on their own on the question of a quorum, where they are saying simple majority is basically 11 people, which means the 12-man committee under the parliamentary leadership can hold decisions and meet without the 9-man. So basically, Alfred Peter Conte appears to have taken the party to court, and then when he got the verdict, the power of the party, the engine of the party itself, was given to the parliamentary wing of the party's parliamentary leader, who has 8 of his MPs in the committee and 4 others, including one legal person who is also tied to his law firm and his old-time school friend. If we're not able, because this thing is painful in the sense that it is coming at the expense of the peace and stability of Sierra Leone. it is now coming at the peace and at the expense of the lives of innocent people. And it's also giving a dishonest administration in alliance with dishonest politicians, selfish politicians, who have now decided to plunge the country into crisis because of their own selfish political ambitions. And we are affected by it because we have our families in Sierra Leone, in our country. We cannot allow it to go in flames. And this will be not the talk about all them days there. All the weeks there, they won. Say the way Mother Bill one get a second term, and no go stop at anything, including the killing of citizens. And that's what we are witnessing now. This disaster not get nothing for do other than how Mother Bill one for remain in power at all cost. So we still insist that the accusation of the opposition by ruling party politicians in alliance with this illegal committee, and also by extension the captured politicians within the opposition, the agents of the state within the opposition, they have to be exposed. That is where the problem is. If they are not exposed, then we risk a situation where we begin to look for who are the faceless people behind these demonstrations. No, they are agents of the state and agents of the state within the opposition, both the opposition politicians and their agents in opposition parties who want to hold on to the status quo, who want to protect an unpopular and corrupt regime, who are now creating this confusion to the extent that now we get this bloodshed in the country. If we're unable to tell them true, I am sitting here and telling them that make I just finish this point. The deaths of innocent people and the continuous killing of people should be collectively put on the heads of the people in power, including the ruling party and the politicians in the opposition who are in charge of the parliament and in charge of the opposition party. If they accuse APC, if they want to accuse the APC of being responsible for this, there has to be the identifiable leadership of the APC, the current illegal committee, and its parliamentary leadership. They should be responsible for coming out and defending their party members. If their party members have been accused of being terrorists, they are the leaders of the party, as it is right now. That's what the court say. If the court,
let me ask this, Chernoh. On these allegations, first of all, let me make this clear. Waiting and not come for know you for, and when nobody no go argue with you, is from the onset, you evidence them when you in a poll were incontrovertible, unquestionable, that you put the government on the back footing, very powerful people, etc., etc., etc. With the recent set of accusations or allegations, is based on a set of circumstances. Of course, sharp minds and no disrespect to others can see waiting you to try for talk because you present a set of circumstances where people need for tie the knots for understand that. In other words, it sound a little bit different from when you've been to make people feel really lazy. I can sit down on my couch, I open my tablet or my phone, and see the evidence where you pull about corruption allegation and the president traveled to London with $500,000 in briefcase. That was physical, that was tangible, and I could see it. As opposed to this new allegation, where it based on a set of circumstances, speculations, which not devoid of evidence itself, but you make it difficult for people for walk on that line there, for put this puzzle together. Because that's what it is. You don't make them not used to laziness. Oh, Chernoh, I don't police. It gets a check number, it gets a bank name, it gets the individual name, and this one, circumstances and speculations. Will you agree with that?
No, the point here is that we don't talk, and there's a difference between we point about corruption in two forms. One is financial corruption. The other is political corruption. Okay, financial corruption, we don't show them consecutively by showing exactly how monies have been looted out of the country by the set of people and institutions. We went as far as, like I said, there is no denial of that fact. And that is a principle of truth that we hold ourselves. When we don't expose the government sufficiently in this way, the government has become unpopular in the country. There is nobody in Sierra Leone who is not aware of the fact that Madam Fatima Bio received money illegally. Okay? There is nobody who doesn't know now that each time the president travels, he's traveling with briefcases of money. Then people can calculate on their own. Why? Because we provided this information. Okay, virtually everybody in the country now know how much particular officials they get as salary, and how much particular people. We all know that now, thanks to the Africanist press. It's tangible financial evidence. Okay, now with this kind of situation, it get ramifications. If you go look at report, they find business companies that are owned by some of these opposition politicians or owned by relatives of these opposition politicians. I've told people that when I go back at the Africanist press website, check the bank statements. Most of the opposition politicians and their family members, or some of them, the names and then at the bank statement there as well. They did it. So the argument is not whether these politicians are corrupt or not, that we've established. The question is, what are the consequences of the publications? The consequence of the publication are the fact that Madabio has become so unpopular now and has no moral ground to accuse any other person of corruption. And he cannot use corruption to exclude other people because he's more corrupt than any other politician that we have right now there, based on the evidence we've provided. Okay? So this has made it difficult for the politicians now. While they wanted to use corruption to exclude some of the opposition politicians in the past regime or past executive of the APC, the new generation we want to take over has finding it difficult. This is where their effort has collided with the Africanist press publications. And then that takes us to the subject of corruption, which is political corruption. How the government, how to protect the system. The only thing we remain between the people and holding Madabio accountable is the fact that he has power. Is not only that, he hold on to power, then he control the judiciary and all the institutions. So the information has just remained as information as it is. And worse, the parliament will raise these issues, refuse to raise them because raising the issues of Fatima Bio's illegal funding, the present loot of the treasury, go make Madabio more of a corrupt leader than any other politician. And some of them do not want that. Why? Because they want their colleagues who have been named in the COI report, in the GTT report, in like the case of Samura Kamara, they are all hoping he's going to be excluded through the corruption cases. So making corruption an issue in parliament affects the parliamentary wing of the party that has its own ambitions. You don't understand? So that is where political corruption meets financial corruption. The question that they have to ask their parliamentary leader is, why has he never raised the issue of corruption publicly in the well of parliament? The reports of the Africanist press. It's not because the evidence is lacking. It's because it get this political implication for him and his group. And we don't see that. When the illegal judge dismantled the APC, kicked out the previous executive, what did they do? They handed the major part of the caretaker committee to him. So
according to you, this was deliberate.
Yes, the question then is, why would the government trust an opposition leader, a judge appointed by the president, contracted by the state, who is not qualified to supposed to practice law, and trust a political party, opposition party, that he is now accusing of being terrorist, to the opposition leadership in parliament?
Yeah, Chernoh, hang on right there.
The activities of the opposition party in parliament is of no consequence to the continuation.
Hang on, brother. This is quite. You make quite an interesting point there, because the party as at this time is being accused of being a terrorist, and that will include the leader in parliament.
Of course.
My goodness, this is taking us somewhere else. Continue anyway. I just want to get that in here.
If we say the party is a party of terrorists and its supporters, basically, why are you going to Makeni and to Kamakwe and other places to look for terrorists? Because in the comments of David Francis and some of the other government spokespeople, what we are being told is that this chaos is being caused by people who are not part of the current supposed new dispensation. So basically, according to Alfred Peter Conte and the other people who don't talk, including government, they have now separated the party from the old people who have been there as old executive and the new caretaker executive appointed by the court. So
can somebody please send me the tape? Can somebody please send me Alfred Conte tape? I need for player because at the same thing, not many people on here Alfred Conte in tape. Because I think the important continue.
We can forward them to you, and then
okay, you get them here. Send them to me, please. I need for player. And other people here.
Yeah, because we need forget this, fully squared so people will understand.
Yeah.
And so because this speaks to what you tell me about. I don't hear people they talk about Chernoh Barbie they produce they will say mother they don't go $10,000. They show $10,000. You do not expect political corruption to be demonstrated in that fashion. Because it's not
Absolutely. That's not the question that they will be ask you,
yes.
so that
So
you can make it very clear that it only come in black and white
political
as
corruption
opposed to
happens
financial
in
corruption.
meetings, happens in arrangements, in stuff like that. And but this is the thing: the many of these people in the opposition they know what I'm talking about is correct. That these are the true and that truth that we've been talking about now. Maybe many of the senior party members they may know this, but they afraid for talking because they knew if they had made this known, it has consequences for them because they have
You
been
haven't
understood.
you haven't sent the tape, by the way.
I don't say that.
No, you haven't. It's just the accompanying text.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're
So
right.
anyway, Fambulem, just a quick
Okay.
reminder: we are talking to the leader of
So,
the Africanist press, Chernoh Alpha Mba. Continue, please.
so yeah, these are what I talk about. The questions are very clear. It's possible even these senior party members in the APC and some of the other people them don't they see these signs and symptoms of the disability, the supposed lack of the clearly defined stance of the parliamentary wing of the party, which is really the only organized sector of the APC right now. As far as me concerned, looking at the APC, and this is the fact, the APC is currently not a party by itself because a political party should be with structures at every level. This is the first time in the party's history, apart from the time that it was banned from operating after the 1992 coup, where you have a situation where the party has no executives, no structures other than an illegal caretaker committee. So basically, the court, the state, the ruling party, and then dismantle APC and appoint people of their own choice in the APC for take over the party. This is not the same way back Madabi want a candidate of your own choice for be the APC flag bearer, leading up to the elections. And until we are able to call these things out as they are, it's going to be a problem. We have to have a situation where the state should not only be encouraged to dominate national institutions, governing institutions, but they should not extend their control over democratic organizations, especially political parties. And the problem is, since the beginning of this government, public institutions have not only been made dysfunctional, even political organizations, the civil society organizations have been made dysfunctional because of the levels of state capture. And the violence that we see around is not violence that is the result of organized expression, independent organized expression, and the result of the state of repression. The government will deal with a terroristic government. If any terror is happening in Sierra Leone, it's the terror of the state. If any violence is happening in Sierra Leone, it's the violence of the state. And that violence is of various types. The violence of the language coming from the presidency, where the wife of the president has threatened to do mob justice against the citizens of Sierra Leone, where the wife of the president has even said they should barbecue the genitals of critics of the government,
Unfortunately.
where the government is holding and detaining an opposition leader in prison without, even though a court has granted him bail, they cannot let him out. Where, to the extent that we now have a situation where more than almost everyone, almost many of the people who served in the previous government, who are not in the good books of this government, are on a travel ban. That's like putting the entire leadership of the previous public service leaders, people who have functioned in the public service, national service, as political appointees, who are not in the good books of this government, are supposedly on a travel ban, on a blacklist. For almost since this government came to power, many of them, they want to travel, they have to seek clearance to travel, with the exception of few. And when you check those exception of few, they have connections with the state, even though they are opposition politicians, that has given them the lease of freedom to move around. Example is Alpha Kanu. Alpha Kanu was the example, was the SLPP's example of the APC's corruption. How did he move from an APC, from considered the poster of APC corruption in the past,
Forgive me,
become
family. I know they
a
laugh out
social
of joke
spokesman
to the thing, yeah.
of the party? And this is the same government that is now trying to say they can use the courts to exclude other people from participating in the political process because they are corrupt. And
Okay.
you have people in parliament who are members of these political parties, opposition parties. They've remained silent over these issues. They've remained silent on the massive corruption. They've remained silent in the massive violations that are taking place. They made themselves appear as if they are feeble, powerless. They say that they bulldoze in a parliament. It has to take us extra amount of effort for make sure the parliament not pass a dangerous law. 2 weeks after that, we don't get this bloodshed that's happening. 2 weeks before the start of registration, we don't get bloodshed in the country where we are no longer talking about voter registration, boundary delimitation, all of the issues that should concern us. We are not talking about the fact that our country is under siege. We are talking about almost a state of emergency, an undeclared state of emergency, because when you say curfew, people are being harassed. Reports of people being killed in their houses. People are supposedly going to be arrested. A state of clampdown of opposition, where opposition politicians and their supporters, certain opposition politicians and their supporters, are being called terrorists. That is a dangerous situation. So we, the citizens of Sierra Leone who are concerned about peace, who have been talking about this, who've been warning about this, should begin to call on the world, the community of nations, that they have to help us prevent what is almost developing into something that will look like a genocide. Because the moment you begin, they hold people and they kill some people and they hold people and deliberately, definitely there's going to be insurrection. There's already instability in the country.
Yes, Chernoh, hold your thoughts right there. We've just hit over the 1.5 hour mark, just above the 1.5 hour mark. Fambulem, we are talking to none other but the one of the editors of the Africanist Press, a man we don't bring with information to which then the whole you have to account now say the information we be they give it in pure black and white, not also in the even though you don't break them down to we again we know say some people and still not go agree. But where you not agree, I mean we will get for hold you responsible as well because they don't distinguish between financial corruption and political corruption. These are two different aspects. They are corruption in any shape, kind of form. But with financial corruption, you get documentation and say follow the money trail. And this is where it comes from. So you see them in black and white. Whereas in political connection or corruption, now arrangements, dubious meetings, under darkness, in on some places where now people and they send information to you and information and then you get for verify them. And even if the information is true, then waiting there get for happen, you get for protect your source. So it's not going to be like on paper, black and white, say this information what they give us, so now Mr. Chernoh tell me this information or Mr. Santigi Kaba. No, it doesn't work that way. Let's raise the game. Let me read few comments in the chat room. Let we recognize and appreciate some of the people and where they follow we. We begin with Mr. George Orwell. Good afternoon, Mr. Cromer, and welcome, Mr. Ba. Mege Rogers Wright, good day. Martha Bangura is watching. And first of all, let me just say again, good day to all of you, wherever you are watching this program for. And what we know is the brand is global. They are watching us from the 7 corners of the earth. Some time ago, we did suffer from people and from the global south, if you will like, Asia and etc. But as we speak now, we get 1 or 2 people and they watch with it, and we are very, very thankful for that. Many, many thanks. So we get Sister Janet Savage. Welcome. Abu Conte. Hello, everyone. Junior Cabo. Good day, compatriots. How are you, Mr. Cabo? Mem Muna Barry. Good afternoon. Oh, me people. Good afternoon, Sister Mem. George Orwell. I totally believe what Mr. Barr has been saying, that President Bio had captured the state institutions, including the opposition political parties, trying to make the country to one-party state. He hired Adrian Fisher to the court to come and help him achieve that by dismantling the APC and made it useless by scattering its leadership, and now he wanted to blame the same party that he helped to dismantle by not controlling its members. How can he be so hypocrite? George Orwell, I mean, by me estimates, much of what you say, if not all, is quite true. This is not the logical they try for talk about. It's complex, but not that complex for minds for see through. the intention, and this is what is important, even from an investigative background, you get to think about the motive. What is the motive of this person? Why potentially this person could have done XYZ? Thank you very much. Point well noted. Rugia to Cabo, Sierra Leone have a bad government and a bad president. Beverly Smith, corruption, and more corruption in the root is the root of the problem. Many thanks, Sister Beverly Smith. Name sound new. Of course, that's on YouTube. CY. Beatrice Thompson. Good day, everyone. Abubakar Rashid. This government has to realize that poverty dwells in insecurity and insecurity dwells in poverty vis-a-vis. So if the people are poor and happiness and hopeless, then insecurity will be the order of the day. So government has to step up the role of young youths in the street, the rate of young youths in the streets of Freetown having no engagement for their betterment in. You are absolutely right, brother Abubakar Rashid. This is the underlying problem now in country. The rate of poverty, which is on the increase. Some of us are in denial. One moment we want to accept, say, oh yes, it is true, but as a consequence of the Ukraine war and what have you. Well, part of it is yes, but the problem not begin today or it not begin on February 24. So I absolutely agree. Brother Delwyn Thomas, good evening from Northern Ireland. Yay! Brother Delwyn, how are you? I hope you're doing well, brother. Thank you so much for watching. RIP to those who have lost their lives. Yes, Sister Beverly Smith, absolutely correct. So we continue for read. Can't answer this call now. I'm on live. Sorry, brother, I can't answer the call. Mohammed Melvin Kamara, Mr. Chernoh, please use your good to contact whosoever you can to stop this killing. Did you hear that, Mr. Barr?
Yes.
Okay. Go on. You want to comment on that?
Yeah, definitely. This is a part of the effort what they do. Part of my effort is to also talk to the people of Sierra Leone so they know, so they cannot be used by anyone for stage their own hidden agenda. Because politicians, the hidden marriage, the secret alliance between the ruling party and certain of these opposition politicians will be try for expose and make them don't create this kind of chaos so that they can hide the role of the state and the role of these politicians and then take a reverse and now translate. And the same way we then do. We publish information, say, Madabio and in ministries of finance and in diplomats and don't transfer over $4.6 million in New York for renovate to embassy. What we put out and do, then take the evidence, then turn them over, then go accuse opposition person. We didn't afraid. Samura Kamara. Now, we don't begin expose the relationship between parliament, some of the people in our parliament and the ruling party, and how they want to pass a dangerous law. They will do them. Then commodity now, we don't begin expose how the government hijack opposition party, APC. We don't begin show the relationship between that and what will be happening in parliament. Next thing you see now, they don't run away from parliament, they go to the party for hide. We don't expose them at the party back. We begin exposing them, they run away, they don't go to the crowd. Now they don't stay up the crowd. The crowd has come out. People they don't die. Now then they take that thing now, put up on people that win a real opposition. So I don't divide opposition into two. I say you get opposition within the opposition. Okay, the opposition within the opposition are the one that way they in bed with the government at night. Then daytime they pretend for being opposition. Yeah, daytime that two-face. Sometimes then they pretend to say they're opposition people there. At night, then they with the ruling party. These are the people that we want to make Madabio continue for their power because themselves they hope say they don't tell you that they like you now say the international community and TRC will not say all man are 10 years. Tijak Kaba do 10 years, and Eskroma do 10 years, Madabio for do 10 years. After that, he hand over to the next APC person. Because the APC power between APC and SLP, that bargain, and lie in the lie. So Madabio self, because of the way we exposing thief with the thief, he knows if he come on a power, he lost power to anybody with the possible way he get agreement with. He's going to be held accountable and responsible. He knows say he unlawful. He not only thief, he unlawful for take money and give him wife. And the evidence, not accusation, not the COI where they accuse people they're not showing a paper. We don't show a paper evidence of Madabio in thief, Fatima Bio in thief one. We are all don't see and Koro one, they don't even deny. They know the way the left power for book them responsible and easy thing. You not get for left power easy one. You go
Okay.
do all kind of thing, not go left power. You go only left power to somebody where you go help for also take if our opposition
And 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 and
What
hence the agenda, hence the agenda for continuation
this
into
is the
20.
agenda because it need power for protecting self. And
Yeah,
you don't go want for left power to people them. You don't go want anybody we don't accuse a thief man for defeat in an election because
absolutely.
it will happen. He don't say somebody thief. You don't it like evidence. Then now you can now they say you thief. Here is Africanist press. Now this make both the politicians and the ruling party will support Mother Bill and the one they don't agree with and say they forget this protective arrangement. They come at me. And
Okay,
why
absolutely understood, Mr. Bar. Mr. Bar, absolutely understood. There are more things for let we read, and you get more time for response to some of these things. But good analogy, Bob Marley, the late Bob Marley. Only if your night were to turn today, a lot of people will run away. Yeah,
exactly?
yeah, good one. So Beverly Smith, R.I.P. to those who have lost their lives, and we share that same sentiment there with you, Sister Beverly Smith. Absolutely right from the bottom of our hearts. Mohammed Melvin Kamara, Mr. Chernoh. Okay, it's the same thing that I am reading. I'm sorry for that. We go to George Orwell. You are so right, Mr. Chroma. That was the starting of this whole mess. President Bio deliberately did that to gain parliament to do his dirty jobs without any resistance as he got the parliament and speaker of parliament. That was why I personally blame the opposition political parties for not resisting this ugly and unconstitutional blunder. Now we are paying a heavy price as our elected representative failed us woefully. You're absolutely right. We've talked about this almost all of the time. It's cyclical now. All the time we do talk about this. But George, you are absolutely right. That was the beginning, and it was intentional, shaping the political landscape for what was to come. But there's a backfiring now, and this is what we are witnessing with Chernoh about it. For let we understand even deeper. Who else do we have? Let me read them comments there quickly. Let me get to we guest. Usman Bigature watching from Godrich Freetown. Yay, Godrich Freetown. Good evening to Una all day. Let's keep the faith. Lauren Fox, you are so right. Thanks, Lawrence. How you do there? I hope you're well, brother. Delwyn Thomas, we are missing the big. Delwyn always get a critical point. Let's see what he says here. We are missing the big and critical point. The government has a plan to stay in power for another term by hook or by crook, which I agree with. Let's see what follows up. And this is what we are saying, Delwyn, you're right. We have a government that cannot govern, and they know that. Their actions since assuming power has been to restrict democracy, curtail human rights, intimidate the citizenry. It is the classic dictator's playbook, only that the playbook belongs to the dictator. They deliberately stifle dissent to create an event and use that as another pretext to clamp down on society. The words they use are deliberate to describe the opposition. Wow, brother Delwyn, you nailed this. But let me see what we guys think about what you say. Any addendum, any perspective on this?
That's exactly that the whole thing. It's called political incest. This one is the incestuous relationship between rogue politicians. I've written about this in the past, and now events basically they show. My last book on Ebola is subtitled is corporate gangsters, rogue politicians, corporate gangsters, and multinationals. This is what I was getting at. But now it's more obvious today.
And that was the APC.
Yeah,
By
that
the
was
way.
the APC. That was the APC.
Yeah,
Now,
you were so
now
ruthless with the former president,
yeah.
Ernest Koroma. You describe a regime and he himself as corporate gangsters.
Yeah, corporate gangsters, multinationals, and rogue politicians. This is what I was getting at. The
Try forget a copy, by the way. Try forget a copy. Go on Amazon. I don't know whether copies are still available.
Oh, yeah, they are still available. If you're in the UK, you get them from Waterstones. Waterstones.
Look at that. Look at that publication from a world-renowned publicist.
Waterstones and Amazon and Barnes and Noble in the US and all that. So
anyway, thank you so much. We will talk about maybe hopefully at the end of the program if I do remember. Brother Delwyn, this is spot on. You nailed it. I hope everybody gets it. Usman Bigature, thank you, Mr. Ba, for enlightening us all about the state-orchestrated distractions with the aid of some disrespectful opposition leaders. Albert Fuji, absolutely right, bro. We expect better from him. But I think Kama is catching up on him for ousting Strasser in a palace coup. Well, anyway, um, Michael S. Brimer is watching from Sierra Leone. Michael Brimer, what's happening in Sierra Leone is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Especially the loss of life. Now I make a play Pakabai tape. Never again. We should never forget. Yeah, we should never forget. We forgive but never forget for see violence now in streets. But here we are witnessing it again. Kebi Conte, the country is in total confusion and mess since this government took over. Carlos Avu, welcome, Mr. Ba. Nana Jabi, sacking people that are competent and replace them with your own people that did not worth it. And Christine Cooper, the point is not being missed. Chernoh has been saying exactly what you said for a long time. I think even the blind can see can see it now. We'll call on Stevie Wonder, no disrespect. Jawara Mohammed is watching. Balu say hello, hello, Sister Balu. Jawara Mohammed, Mr. I don't know who's the Mr. Thanks for your good work. Okay, Mr. Ba, may God bless you all. Jay, sad state of the land that we love. Why can't these people just come to power and just do what is right for the people? Wow, that is it. Why don't you just come to power and do what is right for the people? Why not live up to your election promises, your campaign promises, and just do what is right for the people? I love this, and I'll be quoting this in future publications. We just want a peaceful country. Many of us don't care which party is in power. Just do what is right for the people. Wow, Jay. Thank you so much. Balusi say, wow. Why preventing the people from voting? Mr. Ba, God will protect you and guide you always. Balusi say, sir. Balusi say, Sierra Leone is in deep mess. Absolutely correct. Masire Medley. Massive killing is going on at Shell. Well, you expect repercussions. Now, I make be asked Mr. Ba for provide a context for we. There was a specific reason why. When the government described to both the local citizenry and the international community as waiting happened the last few days, August 10, August 11, describe riotous, treason. You get to understand the context of treason, what it mean. And then waiting at the other word, coupist, coup. It amounted to a coup. In other words, now make treason, it rise up to the threshold of treason. Waiting that they mean, waiting will be the repercussion. That's waiting with the see. So Chernoh, you want to weigh in on that quickly?
No, in fact, anybody, you remember when we published salary disparities between the security sector workers and finance political appointees, including judges and state house consultants and finance officials. They not only would get government people will write on public newspapers and say I should be charged for treason. Okay, for this government, anybody that is a real opponent of the government, that is really critical of the state of affairs in the country, you are committing treason. So that's a known fact. So and this is not the first time the government is calling people terrorists. When Fisher, the unqualified judge or illegal judge that we're talking about, was the prosecutor and that helped to send Paulo Conte in prison. Paulo Conte was in prison, and then you get presidential guards going to prison and unleashing fire and do Pademba Road killings. They almost killed Paulo Conte in jail. Almost. It's possible. We have to, if an independent investigation happens, you should not be surprised if somebody comes out with the conclusion that
the whole Pademba Road thing was orchestrated.
Was orchestrated to kill political
Paulo Conte.
Yeah, which failed. Yeah. So the question is, what is the relationship between Fisher's role in the unlawful imprisonment and detention of Paulo Conte and Fisher's role in the
creating a 21-man structuring?
Yeah, and the restructuring of the APC, the appointment of an illegal committee, and what is the relationship with that to the flag bearer competition and the 2023 elections? And then we come to this point, because all of these involve bloodshed, involve violence, involve army and police, involve tear gas, involve the death of citizens, helpless citizens. Because in the Pademba Road incident, nobody was protesting, but you have politicians who the government fear. at the time, and still now, Paulo Conte is still being accused of corruption. He's in jail. Okay.
Okay. So
So it is easy. So the people who ask me for evidence about this political corruption that we're talking about, you are trying to find it hard to come to the terms that your politicians who you so love and care about, who you support, who you are insulting us for, are actually do not care about you. They do not only care about you, they don't care about your party, really. They do
all
not
right,
care about.
Chernoh, I think you've made the point enough, and the clarity. I love the clarity, and there's a reason again why I asked the question, because I've been wanting that clarity to distinguish between the elements of political corruption and financial corruption. With financial corruption, when they say follow the money trail, the reason why it can easy for you knock down the dong, I make them say follow the money trail. There's
And-
always paperwork. You get
And make
something
us
what
say-
they call like a slug, the young of a snail. When a young
make
of a
us-
snail, the worker, it left trail marks. With political
And make us say,
corruption, it happens in dark places, unusual times. Hence the analogy where you give about the darkness of the nature of things. Hence why I say, like Bob Marley, if your night will turn today, a lot of people will run away. This is not one way ever present a political whatever. But this takes me to the next contributor. Yeah, you want to say something? Go on, please feel free.
No, I just want to say that even when we track the illicit financial flows, it's impossible to see almost everything because there are transactions that do not happen in the banks in the first place. So
Yeah.
you don't see. So what do you make banking? The reason why mentors of mine, for example, are still they pay homage to Carlos Cardoso, who said, he said, when you are looking at crime at the financial level, look at the central bank because that's the hub of every money transaction in the country. But that doesn't mean it's the only monetary transaction because there is large part of cash that goes around in the country.
Yeah,
Flows
probably
and-
you're not even on earth. Probably you're not even on earth. That just 1/3, the other 2/3, just like you
Yes.
say.
So now
It's
this look at the
still
top
largely hidden.
up to now we are below 25% of the evidence in our disposal.
There we go, 75%. So that's what I'm saying. 1/3 is what being published.
But we don't put that there on hold. We find out, say, what is really going to protect these politicians is power. And that's where political corruption. Then we find, in fact, we don't talk about, in 4 years, we don't talk about financial corruption, how politicians, we don't show now examples
So
of
the
how
long and
politicians
short of
how
this,
they election.
the long and short of this fambulem is waiting you been expect as per Africanist press stroke Chernoh in work in exposing corruption, where some people they want deliberately make this as an excuse. Some deliberately, some ignorantly. It's like where Chernoh been the pull evidence then they. We've been to see figures, we've been to see names of people and banks and transaction and check numbers. That is very true. But now if you listen, you go understand, say, there is a difference between the two. And the man don't make them clear, and I don't know whether I can make them more even clear enough.
Yeah.
That the things that when you say you
I
hold
want to
up
add something.
in high regard for in terms of financial fraud, and now they tell we say now 25% because so much hidden. But even not 25%, you're so happy with them. But now you land say it's only 25% because there's so much hidden. You know, the trail of money, the way they pass them to family members and cousins and nephews and what have you. So 25% now been embraced. So what if you had 50%? Yes, you want to say something, sir?
No, I say it's less than 25%. I had even mentioned, remember the first show, I think this is the third or fourth program now with the guy. In the first program, you asked me, say, people and say we don't run out of information. That is why we were raising.
Oh yeah, that was program number 1 in recent times.
You don't understand?
Correct.
Then I talked to no, it's not the absence of records of government financial operations. Because right now, if I want for look how much money was taken out of the bank yesterday, I'm going to produce that day. How much money was moved from one destination to the other. But the politicians even want me for to do that. Why did they fed? Now we don't show how did they thief money. We try to show now how they plan for thief the election. The technique and the method they want for use. And this also involves money because some of the money in the past program, I don't mention even money where they can go on neck, where they transfer from the central bank to the National Electoral Commission their account on the 20th of June, the same time where they can go the bill in the parliament. that money has been taken out. All over 2 billion, 2.8 billion, which was taken out of the bank from the NEC account. The same time with the parliamentary processes they go on in the parliament. So there are also monies about NEC procurement, NEC transfers. If I want to talk about that, I talk about them. But for now, if we not educate the people that are around, how the politicians and plan for fix the election and give Madabi a second time, it will be a problem. And as we begin to talk about that, you see how the dynamics change. The people who appreciated the financial records are now questioning. First, the very people that begin to talk, so we don't run out of information. We present live evidence of Madabi in money no wire for Afugu, UK. He was even on flight. He didn't have the plane. We didn't show how the money they can go. So basically, we don't find out that there's a correlation. There's a relationship between people who steal money, public money, will also steal elections. Because without stealing the elections, they are not going to remain in power. If they do not remain in power, they're going to be held responsible.
Accountable.
Yes.
Okay, Chernoh, let me move on quickly. Let me continue.
Power. Not just finish this one. They need stolen power to protect stolen wealth. And what we are talking about is the process through which they want to steal power to protect the stolen wealth that they have accumulated in these 4 years. And they are not doing that alone. They are doing that with the opposition way for hold them responsible. A sector of the opposition way for hold them responsible located in parliament who have refused to raise up in real sense the issues of corruption, mismanagement, and public theft that we have, who have refused to address the issue of the destruction of the internal mechanism of the country. So that are the evidence, Dandy. There's no evidence beyond that. There's no evidence beyond that. There's no evidence. So except if you want me for sure evidence of one of these politicians going to State House and they carry back, Ghana must go back with and can go to parliament from NEC for go talk about how they compromise the MPs them. The question is, why MPs them want to pass a law for make sure say all of these people who are called terrorists will not be able to vote? And they only talked about it when we bring them out into the public domain. Now, if you look at the law where they finally passed and the 2012 law, no difference. So what is the essence of even having that conversation when the 2012 legislation and the 2022 legislation are almost one and the same? With the removal of the provisions and what we don't talk say, that therefore prevent the people who are now called terrorists in Freetown, in Makeni, in Karene, and other places from voting for a candidate of their own choice.
Okay.
Is that not evidence? When we know about the public elections bill before Africanist Press tell Una, when we know about say NIN day inside day before Africanist Press tell Una, no.
Profound questions and the chat room open if Una want to respond to that, because some people actually feel that prior to Africanist Press, they conscientize the people on waiting day inside the public elections bill, awakening the consciousness of 8 million people. Some people are in denial now that it is not the Africanist Press, but the record speaks for itself. But again, coming back to the issue of financial and political corruption, I think you've made the point enough. Some do expect you to prove a negative, and in the history of the world, scientists, geniuses, no one has ever proven a negative. It cannot be proven. So thank you so much. And back again to commentaries. You could forget a dissenting view. Mr. Henry Sandy looks like a first time on the platform. You guys are all responsible. Be ready to come home for your evil deals. Wow. Be ready to come home for your evil deals. The blood of the innocent civilians will be upon your head. President Bio is going to win hands down. People have gained more support. It sounds a little bit contradictory there, but one thing which is clear is, according to Mr. Sandy, people are going to be held responsible for their evil deals, which I agree with. I don't know whether you're referring to us or other people, but everybody who's committed some act of some act that has led to the death of Sierra Leoneans, of course you'll be held responsible. Everybody that has violated the rules of the land, and that will include the president, the first lady, and so many other government officials. Not just happy for go beyond that. But many thanks for your contribution. He man, straight, Abu Powerhouse. People then talk sense, go other side. I wonder who that Abu they talk to. Abu, if you can make it clear, maybe it further down. Lofty PC Okoto. We are calling on the international community to intervene now. Christine Cooper, nope. This terror regime is responsible. Mama Yebu Tigi. Good evening, Brother Prince Chroma and Chernoh. Happy to join for the first time. Kudos to both. Madam Mama Yebu Tigi, welcome to the platform and thank you for your kind compliments. Really appreciate you. Abubakar Kake, many of you are living in your comfort zone and circulating misleading and misinformation out to the people. But prosperity, I guess it means posterity, will surely going to judge all of you. Of course, it is true. I don't know whether you comment they allude to we, but there are many of us, on social media where, of course, they disseminate false information and information we're not helpful at all. I don't think we are part of that because what we are saying here is straightforward. Telling people the truth on what is happening in our country. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, Mr. Kake. Salon Pekin, how can we do free and fair elections when the government is busy trying to hinder all the possible means to free and fair, credible elections? Madabio must resign. Look, brother, I don't know Salon Pekin whether you're a woman or a man, but I do agree with the sentiment where you express. Hence, you see, when you close the political space, that landscape, when you close them, it becomes difficult for people to express the franchise, the freedom, for participating in the democratic process. And what happens is like a pressure cooker or water when the cup runs over. This is what we are seeing. So I agree with your sentiment. Suleiman Bundu, please take your time for once and see the reality. Forget about party picking business. You're too young for be used. I guess this not to we at all because both Chernoh and myself are not young to be used, and not to that we talk about self. So I believe say Suleiman they address somebody else on the platform. Many thanks for your sentiment. Carlos Avu, please stop what you have started because it will not end good for here. We need no direction. Okay? Don't understand what exactly is that. Response. The APC is in a state capture in a salon. Lawrence, I mean, yes, you said it in a state capture. How do you get off that state capture? And I think this is what Mr. Barr has been trying to say. Within the clutches of state capture, people within the party structure need to understand, except you are complicit, if you are not or you are on sides, then generally speaking, the party belongs to the people and I believe the largest majority. And this is what it is. For the goodness of the party and country, something needs to be done. Thanks, Lawrence. Again, Lawrence, the parliament is in a state capture. Of course, the institutions are in a state capture. Again, the state capture that you talk of, and Mr. Barr, you spoke about, is the motive is the president wants a second term. He does not have the prerequisites. That's the point. If I were an investigator to investigate, that's where I will start from. What is the motive? And it just makes the whole thing simple. Thank you very much. Let me don't get carried away. In the eyes of Chernoh, Samora is the only state APC to lead 2023. He never condemns Samora, never. He's always defending and advocating for Samora. What a world. God bless Alfred Peter Conte. Of course, this is addressed to you, Mr. Chernoh. It's only befitting that you address it yourself. Of course.
Yeah, it's interesting. A few years ago when I started publishing financial records. No, go back 10 years ago. Throughout the 10 years of the APC people called me an SLPP, and some of them even said I am a Madabio supporter. So that's the records are there. Some of them insulted me to the point that I blocked some of the social media people because they were insulting me. All kinds of these are APC people level between 2008 to 2018. Not only APC, I wrote articles again about NGC when they decided to form. I talk about, I had that running battle too with some of them. If they watch, they know it's not true. You can go to the Africanist press and look. From 2018 to April or March, even June now, all of the people who share Africanist press work, they are APC supporters, including people who had insulted me between 2008 to 2018. So the SLPP people who share me work between 2008 to 2018, they started insulting me from 2018 when I began holding government to account, including the wife of the president, who I've never met, by the way. I know one day see her face to face, we not sit down, we not talk. Went as far as lying that I had asked them for a job. Okay, they called me. Then some newspapers, the APC journalists, people who support APC, I mean SLPP journalists, then right now newspapers them talk say I have been paid $5,000 by the APC for attack Madabiu. One on his paper, the other they write say $200,000. So the other one talks say, in fact, I don't read say how many are even a nephew of Anes Kroma. So these are SLPP. So they not only call me APC supporter, they even give me family. You don't understand, eh? Some of the APC supporters will be they cost me 2018. Before 2018, some of them had to call me personally and apologize. Send me text message, say, hey, bruh, we sorry we've been causing trouble. And I will not say you're a patriot, you're a real patriot. You stand for the country. So they asked me, I therefore unblocked some of them. Some of them I got offended, therefore see them because I had like more than 5,000 people who are the block for the cost minimum, all kind of me call.
Wow.
Yeah, not true. I have over 15,000 followers on my private Facebook page, excluding almost 4,000 friends on my friends list. So if we combine and all, that is like over 20,000. But when I check my block list, I have nearly now over 10,000 people blocked. So the number of people who are blocked is almost equivalent to the number of people who are following me as followers. Why? Because many of those I block are people who insult me. You don't understand, and they curse me privately and openly. And I don't encourage, I know they allow curse, mommy, curse or bad language on my page because it's a page that is viewed by other people who are not Sierra Leoneans.
Absolutely.
I do not want people who are not Sierra Leoneans for say me people in a salon that curse put on my page. Because I have all kinds of people, different people who not sabi salon. Some of them know about salon based on the integrity of my work. Some of them are professors, academic, and other things that follow my work, including my books. Some of them are people who teach my books. Some of them have also been my teachers and professors in the past. So because of the respect I owe for that audience, my audience is not just Sierra Leonean. My audience include many of the people who support my work, who have become the dedicated followers and believers and defenders of my work are not Sierra Leoneans. But the people who have benefited from my work have been the people who have insulted me the most. And these include political leaders, including the current president.
Okay.
You don't understand? So those of you who are calling me Samura Kamara supporter, Samsumana supporter, or any other kind of supporter, or whether a nephew, I don't care about those things. The fact of the matter is I've been called all kinds of names, including the fact that again APC
Membership card.
we don't write say mina non-Sierra Leonean. If you check some of the APC websites, you will find that APC journalists there, we now they republish and share me work. They don't write say mina a Guinean, then call me dissident. When APC
Wow, that's quite strong.
When SLPP in power, the journalists will be the share and republish me work, SLPP journalists, including Global Times, also write say mina a dissident, I should be charged for treason. So for me, you call me say because my views appears to be coincidentally against your own flag bearer interest.
Therefore, being a foreigner,
a supporter of your opponent. That's your own business.
I not be ever know say you're a supporter of Dr. Samura. This is news.
A few days ago, I listened to an audio where they say me. In fact, these are the Cherry Cocoa supporters. Some of them said I have been paid by Samsumana in group for support. In fact, one of them even said,
how you know say na Cherry Cocoa is supporter?
Yeah, because that's what they identify. They say that's why I am insulting the.
Oh, okay. The leader of the house.
Yeah, when you say that means you are insulting.
Yeah, I guess you are just asking the question because you don't understand.
Yeah, that is how I come about. Say I am criticizing the parliamentary leader of the party because then things say I have been paid. You don't understand, by the Samsumana group. If I support Alfred Peter Conte, now some of them say I am against Alfred Peter Conte. So they've been putting, these are the problem of the elite in Salon. They've always tried very hard to put me in one box this month. The next month, when I say other thing or write about thing, they put me in the other box. So people who will celebrate my work today, tomorrow morning, they will be the people who are opposed to my work, including the APC people that will be the share me work. Then they on a campaign for say people not for share me work. I get 3 of me followers will share an announcement where I make say in the next couple of hours I will be publishing an article that's an analysis of the Africanist press analysis of the situation at Salon. As the person share and they then block them. from the AP. These are groups that we APCs people. I mean, the people that share me work. In fact, your
But
own
why, Chernoh? I get you, and sorry for cutting you in mid flow, because this is of interest. Why will they block a walk like that? And if they are APC,
yeah,
I mean, this should play to their advantage. Why would
because some of them now don't find out, say, the work of the Africanist press is counterproductive to their own hidden ambitions, which is to prolong the duration of Madabio in office. Not all APC possible, Madabio come on power now. Because Madabio come on power now, some of them will lose their own political and economic interest. Some of them will have consequences. Like ask Alpha Kanu, you are an APC member, but if you put a ballot box between an APC candidate and Madabio, he's going to prefer Madabio to stay. Okay? There are many such people again that we do not know about in the APC who are hidden, dangerous, more dangerous than even the Alpha Kanu that's out on the stage.
I get a question for you, but let me get back again quickly. I'll just acknowledge a few people and very quickly, and then we get back to the bulk of the program. Mama Yebutigi, those who lost their lives are martyrs. Absolutely. We should find a way to know their family members, comfort them, and even reward them in the long run. We can charge you with that responsibility there, Mama Yebu, or we can do the background and see those who lost their lives and their families, and let me see how we can help them. I mean, that's a good thing. That's being Sierra Leonean in the first place. That's a patriotic duty. That shows say we stand up with them and show solidarity with them. This is no politics. Many thanks for that. I will look back into that in the background and see whether we'll be able to identify the people them. And those of you who are listening, where they're against, this is not a politics, so the people that we lost their lives are Sierra Leoneans, by the way, and not involve any member, political member, then Peking, then cousin, then what have you. No, these are just ordinary, everyday people where they grab every day for look for the daily bread. Ahmed Kanu, hello everyone, hello Mr. Kanu, Lawrence Fox. Why is the political parties quiet? Yeah, I need for ask Chernoh about this. Why is the political, or why are political parties quiet? Or are they parties quiet? Yeah, I will definitely ask that question. That's important. Thanks, Lawrence. Mariama Jacobi Sako. Hi, everyone. Hi, Mariama. He-Man Street. People being executed secretly by Deputy Internal Affairs Minister Lawrence Lima. More people will die if the curfew not lifted. We don't hear disturbing reports about that, but all of that, unsubstantiated news, there is no credence to it. But if you get any report, we're credible enough, like a tape, a voice, send out to we go look into that and we go happy for talk about that. Many thanks, He-Man Street. Christine Cooper, even yesterday, you came to hijack the entire comment thread with this nuisance Iduso. Yes, I think saying a mutate, this sister they refer to. You will get for be constructive, even in with criticism. Thank you, Sister Christine Cooper. Otondo Sise, watching from Sweden. Hi, Sweden. How wanna they do the good one? Lawrence Fox, it is a state capture. Mama Yebutigi, correction, Mr. Chroma. Sorry, sir, for mistake. No, that's understood. We can read in between the lines. Yeah, I saw the error, and I think I read it correctly. Kunku Motate, Christine Cooper, but I'm not talking to you, though. So what's your stress? No, you can't say that, Kunku. This is not general platform, so you don't need actually for call somebody. Kunku, man, get half a brain, brother. You don't need for call somebody in name. Delwin Thomas, I think it's your feed, Prince. We can see Chernoh. Okay, thanks, Brother Delwin. The only nuisance here is putting others look at money. That's so money. And I'm not saying you don't mean more. But again, like I go to with you, right? The only nuisance here is you. That's not nuisance. Now you, I'm not going to accuse you, but you we all do it. One umbrella where we all on now the conversation. Come on, Kunku, I know. Don't go wrong. Go call the woman, honey. Don't you get it? And I sure say you don't even know. And I think it will be better to ask about his opinion about Samura Kamara, which we've done is address it. Look, the woman, they pick Kunku. Rise up, brother. I'm not going to go into Momo, set up your stinking mouth. Who are you they talk to? Let no go that way they go, Christine. Look at Kunku, they repeat this same thing. Have this conversation. I not intend because you don't do any much wrong other than you view them as so extreme. So stop. Don't say not like that. Don't you recognize that? Do you want to be here now on the platform? It's not allowed here. Please stop that. You do it one more time, we reject you. I'm to you. Lawrence, no wages bill to satisfy Lawrence. If anybody wants to complain on that, no, until they have back and forth with you, to write for money, just recognize that. Don't just recognize that. Other than that, you're okay. You didn't miss the point, brother. For the pure information, you are perfectly correct. Okay, read all of this, but from you, in one step. People are dying. The so-called president running calling up terrorists, so-called Africanist. Sauda to Arabio is a killer. Sauda to what I was typing, just call and inform me that I killed my friend among the street when he shot her. King Jr. It is said that your cohorts associated a failed protest in the minds of government as posed by your decision only. Okay. Mara, I just to hear the name Samora. Okay, I'm not going to go any further. Mega brother, thank you very much. You, anybody, you, mighty bless you, sir. To be a great friends. Anybody new? Mohammed Kamara Alpha Kano holds a PhD in I love that. I love that.
Your line is breaking.
Okay, the internet don't be bad. So we come back to you immediately. Olu McCarthy. Yes, how do you do? You guys are doing good. Thank you, Steve. Thank you so much, everyone. Good day. These are all new. Good evening. How are you, Ibrahim? Good work, guys. Hi, here. Kai Bato. I hope I pronounced him rightfully, brother. You to go and speak. I don't know whether it's me or we address that shortly. Shirley Hardin, Christina. God bless all of you for the good work. Yep. Who else? Who else? You, Ali Young Tarorali. Thank you for your authentic. We go after those who lost their loved ones. Okay, Ali, Michael Johnson. Take me number. It's 077. I live in England, by the way. So go for 077 4010 7250. 077 put me email address so you can use them as well. If you can use you means for try for galvanize people and towards this cause because it's absolutely necessary. I appreciate that. You need banks medley. I know it was a long time for quite a while, but I see in comment and it's
the line seems to be cracking. Can you fix the line?
See you, but I think say probably. Okay. I'll come to you shortly. TPC, boy, me. How listening to thanks for thank you so much. I mean, it's so true, man. Muna anybody knew Maria Kamara has my politics, especially absolutely correct spot, and this is science we're just talking about. Thank you, Mr. Ba. Ancients waiting for the email address want to send the president on current situation in the country. Okay, let me return to Mr. Ba and Mr. Yancy. If you hear this is not to Chernoh Ba, so direct and to if you hear me, just go. Why supporting or what are you supporting? What is doing? What is spoiling you?
You line the crack. I don't know if there's a way you fix that.
No. I'm on into this right there.
Hello?
Okay. Yeah, it better. Chernoh,
yes,
come back.
Because the line looked cracked, so I know you're ready.
You hear me now? Is it better?
Yeah, now it's getting better. Not all better yet.
It's getting better. I'll just ask you. Bless all of you for the good work. Yeah.
Hello?
Terrorists, because now the entirety has been branded as terrorists. Yield the floor to you.
Okay. Let me answer the questions as the host is trying to get back to the show, and I don't know how they've gotten him out, but somebody asked why has the political parties been silent, and while this is all going, I think that's a very valid question that everybody need for answer. We need for ask that question. Me to say not just the political parties have been silent, but why have the parliamentarians, in the case of the APC, why have the APC parliamentarians not held a press conference regarding the current situation? In any democracy where political parties are being accused of being terrorists, is the responsibility of the organized leadership, the identifiable leadership of that party, in this case, members of parliament representing that political party, then get absolute responsibility for come out and not only denounce and rebuke the government for calling them as terrorists, but then also for explain how they understand the situation will unfold. But we've never had any statement yet from the parliamentary leader of the opposition. We've never had any statement from him. And they cannot say that the press release from the Secretary General of the Caretaker Committee on the APC saying we had no DD, we not sabi, is enough. No, parliamentarians can also make that, because it's the responsibility of parliament or parliamentarians to uphold the constitution, to uphold the law. Now we have a civilian administration that has announced a curfew abruptly that has constitutional implication without a state of emergency, without the declaration of a state of emergency. Parliamentarians and the lawyers who are part of that, because it's, in fact, for the APC, their parliamentary leader is a lawyer. So the question, why has the opposition in parliament not issued a statement regarding the current unfolding situation in the country? Why have they not held a press conference since this incident started? In fact, when the sit-at-home strike was happening, they were in parliament. On the day, the 10th, they were meeting in parliament to discuss a constitutional amendment that was never disclosed in the other papers of parliament. On that very day, they were supposed to also pass into law a political party's law, which many people do not know about. So the question is, why have they remained silent, just like they always remain silent in many of the other issues, including the issues of corruption and all of that? We need to know the position of the members of parliament, the organized opposition in parliament. And this could also be true for other opposition parties, including smaller parties like the NGC, the C4C. They owe the people of Sierra Leone their voices against the ongoing reported killings that are taking place at night that people are talking about. We cannot just dismiss these stories as untrue. They should be calling for an independent investigation, not what the government is talking about. They should be challenging the characterization of citizens who the government believe are not supporters of the ruling party as terrorists. That is unheard of. We cannot allow the ruling party and the presidency, because the world state power, executive power, for define and destroy the image of a sector of our population simply because they believe in their own minds and their crooked thinking that that sector of the population is not in support of the ruling party, and because they've expressed their grievances regarding and their resentment regarding the state of affairs in the country, they should be characterized as terrorists. It's the responsibility of politicians, political leaders, to step up and rebuke the government on behalf of the citizens of the country. Now we see videos and images of police and military people terrorizing citizens. The reason why these opposition politicians have been silent is because, like we said, the parliament, especially at the level of parliament, they have to come clean. They do not want to take an express position. Like we said, since the public elections bill, we've come to find out that they are trying to prolong the regime in power. You guys love politicians. Really like them. And it's good to love your politicians, to be in support of them, to back them up. But you cannot back them in this period, in a situation of crisis. Our democracy is in crisis. Our country is under siege. We have witnessed bloodshed. We are still witnessing bloodshed. The political leaders in parliament who you support, who you so love, have gone missing. What you have is amateur politicians, in the case of the APC, amateur politicians, inexperienced novices who are appointed deliberately by a court to be in charge of a whole 60-year-old party, making statements they do not even know about, things they do not even know about. The first question a serious politician will ask. No, the serious question a politician will ask.
Will there be, Chernoh, will there be any excuse for the opposition party to go out at this particular point in time, even though it's as critical as it is? Could they resurface, in other words, and begin to provide, you say, say at the time that been so, even though they don't call them terrorists, so they could use that say, well, we had a fear, this card before. Is there a possibility they could play the same card? Or it's not exclusive at this particular
No,
point
no,
in time on what
they
they
not shift the
cannot
burden.
and disagree.
Well, they not shift the burden. If I hear the question, because still the line they go in and out, but I think say they try to ask whether they will come out now and begin to say they are afraid. Like they've already said that Mother
Yeah,
will do.
exactly. I'm saying, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's true. Will they come out later and say so?
This is why they are hiding behind novice individuals who are in charge of the illegal caretaker committee, because when you check the party right now, the parliamentary leader is the most senior among the organized sector of the opposition in the case of the APC. So what stops him from stepping forward and defending his political party and his comrades? If they call them comrades, if they know what comradeship means. If they know what comradeship means, they will not be sitting behind the scenes and allowing their political party and their select few comrades to be smeared and being called names by government officials. So, but this one, they talk about the hypocrisy of the political class and the deep-seated complicity with the state. So they have to always find excuse for not standing up on behalf of the people in periods of crisis, even before the crisis, or stopping this crisis from happening. Parliament being get the opportunity and the responsibility for make sure they're able to articulate the concerns of the people. The conspiracy of silence among the political elites, both within Parliament and outside of Parliament, and the professional class, lawyers, academics, trade unionists, and all of these people who have remained silent in the face of the ongoing oppression and exploitation and corruption in the countries, what has translated into the protests that we saw and the violence and the accompanying death toll that keeps rising. And nobody seems to be concerned about it. So it has to go beyond we abhor the violent scenes or we send our heart goes out to the people who we've lost. It has to go to the point where you have to remind the government that the government is not there for SLPP people alone or for Southeasterners alone. It is there to protect the lives and property of every Sierra Leonean, regardless of whether that Sierra Leonean holds an opinion that is different from the ruling party's opinion, whether that individual appears to have voted for or voted against the government or the president in power. Is the responsibility of the state, is the responsibility of the government to provide them protection as citizens. And they cannot characterize one sector of the population as terrorists simply because they've protested against bad governance in the country. That's unacceptable. So the people who should make that known to the president and his party leaders are the people who are leaders of constituencies, leaders of districts, leaders of the political and professional and interest groups in the country who have actually shown us that they can only speak when they are when their own interest is affected, not when the population is affected. Few days ago, you remember there was this discussion about ethnicity and what they call tribalism. And you saw all of these organizations issuing statements. But now in the face of the state terror and state oppression and police brutality and the army going out and killing people, they've all decided to remain silent and hiding in their homes with their kids. And in the final analysis, when they have been profiting from the system, because in as much as situation is hard in the country, the collective few members of these political parties in parliament or in various branches of the governance structure are receiving salaries. They are paid. In fact, they have a law now talking about the improvement of their condition of service for parliamentarians, which by extension include also the provision that if they are sick, then get the right for be flown abroad and for advanced medical care when there are no hospitals. Standard medical care, vehicle allowance. Now, when crisis comes, all of the MPs have disappeared. In fact, Parliament don't go on vacation until October because they don't want to be held responsible. When the problem we are talking about started in Parliament, the Parliament has failed to live up to the expectation of the people. They don't fail for provide the checks and balances, hold Madabio accountable, hold him responsible. Up to this point that we don't come to crisis. As the crisis comes to Parliament, go on vacation straight. They know they come back until October. Where are your parliamentarians? Where are your constituency leaders? The people you voted to represent your constituencies. Their constituencies are under siege. Their people are under attack. The voters who voted them have been called terrorists. They haven't made a statement. They have not held a press conference in defense of the population. They have not challenged the single narrative coming from the state, a narrative of oppression and criminalization of the population. So when they look for evidence of your parliamentarians' complicity and collusion with the ruling party, you do not want to admit to reality. That's the only thing. And why it's easy for us to hold this opinion, because we are not beholden to these politicians. In fact, for me, they are beholden to my work, because now they can use my work back when in the campaign. And where they may work not in their interest, the supporters have begin to insult me. So it's my duty, my responsibility, which I have held on to help you tell your politicians the truths that you are afraid to tell them, because maybe you love them so much that you love more than you love yourself. Because it's the equivalent of what Malcolm X will say during slavery, where some slaves living in the household, because of the pecuniary benefits that they receive from the slave master, when the slave master is sick, instead of say, "Master, are you sick?" they say, "Master, are we sick?" Because when you get rid of the system of slavery, the house slave.
Let me just weigh in on that, because then I'm one of the favorite Malcolm X ever.
Exactly.
Master, instead of "Master, are you sick?" they say, "Master, are we sick?"
Are we sick?
When the master,
Yes.
where the one waiting at the field, that are the field Negro and the house Negro. When the master they born, the one they pray for, let the host burn, let fire, let Moses come and burn the host down. The one sick of the master and host, where they wear the master in old clothes and eating leftover. Now in the run past the master step for save the host. Sorry about Jim, but I love that over all these
I'm
many.
Yeah, that's the situation. Some of these people, they know say what they talk to are true. They know it. And some of them are part of the plan. And why? Because the politics of Sierra Leone is warlord politics, where every small politician has this group of people. All this fight that they are fighting, for example, in the APC, it's not about who is more better than the other. Now, who that one for position in safe, so that when your flag bearer or your own leader there ahead, that's what determines which position you get for hold. The position in this case, the department or agency for me is thief. That's all they're fighting about. Those who are insulting us, the one maybe the cause we say with the support Madabio yesterday, we were writing coincide with that. When Madabio is in power, and the cause we today more than for Madabio, more than so you see, they are defending him, not because many people who are defending the Bio administration are not doing so because they love Bio. It's because they identify their material interest in him right now. The people who they cause an Eskuruma, where they say that for go hold him right now. Now the very people in the cause Twitter, they will the right and try to hold an Eskuruma in the APC accountable, including these very people where they say with the support the old guard of the APC. They were the old supporters and employees of the old guard who were insulting us in the past between 2008 to 2018. Now the very people that now they accuse me of supporting or defending the very people who they were insulting us for. And for me, it's a question of justice. It's a question of the truth. I do not support injustice against anyone, even if that person, I disagree with the person ideologically, personally, otherwise. Injustice is injustice. What is right is right. What is truth is truth. If I have to say that truth, and that truth affects a particular politician or an individual, even if that individual is my friend or my relative or by extension, any other kinds of relationship we have or connection, I have to say it. And if that truth also affects or benefits somebody who I disagree with or who finds agreement with my truth, it don't mean say me and get back, like matter of coincidence. So this is why you find them. I have not changed. My views are not changed. Now una they change because when I always feel say, well, I for talk something when I like. And when I say something today, it appears say you resonate with it, or write something, you resonate with it. It's a matter of coincidence. My position has remained consistent and constant, which is designed to hold the political class of all colors accountable to the common good of Sierra Leoneans. If my bias is here, is a bias that is tied to the interest of the majority of the poor Sierra Leoneans. But I get that don't mean I don't have a choice. If I want to play the kind of way they are playing, it's easy to be part of these thieving groups of people if you want to. But anybody with character who has a conscience will not be able to sleep looking at the images that we saw on Wednesday. Nobody should be praising himself or herself for witnessing bloodshed. I warned against it. I saw it coming. I tell them, what you are doing is providing Madabio the pretext for the declaration of a state of emergency that will affect the electoral calendar. It's in his interest to delay the elections. It's in his interest to create a situation of chaos so that people will not be able to participate in the political process, so he will remain in power by all means. A need for steal power now to protect in stolen wealth. Whether you accept it today, tomorrow, the consequences when they actually happen, we are all going to be affected. Already, these innocent people who have died, whether they are police officers or citizens, ordinary citizens, they are all victims of these politicians. None of the politicians, ask yourself, which of these politicians, from the members of parliament to the cabinet ministers, whose child was on the street with you? In fact, your MPs were not sitting at home when you were called upon to sit at home. They were in parliament trying to pass dangerous laws to protect themselves in power. Now check the other papers of parliament, what they were doing in parliament in those 3 days, including the last day when people died on Wednesday. Look at television. The 21-man committee were arguing on television in the constituency. Other one, they say that the other MP, the other faction member, they talk, say the MP will be needed to represent the MP then group. He say, nah, rude mortal man. He say the cause mommy cause all. Now the meeting there. Honorable member of parliament been told on national television that he's insolent. They were on television arguing about who should be in charge of an illegal committee, the illegal handover of a whole political party that has over 60 years history. Was handed over to young people with no experience, who have no knowledge of governance and politics, to mess it up. And why you have to talk about this? Because we need political organizations to be functional so that the citizens of Sierra Leone will have a choice. Those who do not want Madabio, they cannot just say Madabio must go in vacuum. They have to be presented with any kind of choice, even if that choice is ugly. They should be able to have the opportunity to choose. I have said, if Madabio believes that he's popular, he has delivered, he has worked very well, let him organize a free and fair election. Let him allow each and every citizen of Sierra Leone to be able to participate freely without being suppressed by either law or institution. Every citizen should be able to participate in the election, either as a voter to be able to vote for a candidate of their own choice, or they should be able to stand up in front of the people to put themselves as choices, as an alternative to Madabio. Bio must not decide which politician should be head of a political party. He should not choose for political parties the candidates that should contest against him. And that is what he's trying to do. This is what this violence is all about. Whether a politician can tell now or not, that is what this violence is about. That is what has caused the deaths of people. The president does not want to contest with candidates who he has not bargained with. He wants to choose a candidate by default, make a default candidate for opposition parties who will allow him to steal the elections. And because we are making it difficult for him to do that, they have instigated violence in the country so that innocent people who want change, whose desire for change will be exploited, they will come out on the street, and then they will set them up against exploited police officers who are badly paid to also fight against innocent young people whose desire is to just want change, who just want to be free, to be able to walk and have a daily bread. That's the only thing they need. And because the politicians want to hide, want to hold on to this system of thieving, they set the ordinary people against each other, and then they sit down at the house and they hide. Then when they look again, they look at the other politicians who they not like, they say that they're not terrorists. You have to be sincere and honest to the nation.
So here's the question. Here's the question for you, Chernoh. I mean, it's been times, a million times. Action, please.
I don't. The line still is going on in and out.
Come on, this line. I don't know. to this line now. Any chance you have it better?
I doubt whether it's going to get better.
Better. Okay, then continue, Flo. You continue.
No, I think no matter how I say it, I just get for a repeat because we don't go almost getting to 3 hours now. I just want to keep thanking you.
Exactly.
Yeah, I just want to keep thanking you for being courageous enough to allow us, because right now there's constant effort on the part of the political elite who are in this bargain to prevent people from having real information, access to this truth. This is why we've come under attack from the APC sector that's in bed with the ruling party and their effort to gatekeep the information. This is why no radio station is allowed or encouraged to hold this kind of conversation, because this is the conversation that should be had, really. Because when people have access to truth, they will not be misguided. They will not be misled. So when the politicians are looking for the phases of this violence, they should look among themselves, both in the ruling party and their friends, those they have an alliance with. That is where the phases are. The phases are hidden in the ruling party and their friends in the opposition. The phases are not located anywhere. They are responsible for the animation. It's not happening in vacuum. The one that will cause this problem, lots of people do not get face. The face they hide inside the ruling party, the people in government, and their friends in the opposition. So if Manabi want to look for the terrorists, he should start by looking at himself, number one, looking at the friends of his in his cabinet and those he has bargained with in the opposition. They are responsible for the creation, not just of the conditions will lead to this, but also for instigating the insurrection so that they will now justify this crackdown that is happening in the country. So this is not a faceless demonstration. It's a demonstration instigated by ruling party politicians and their allies in the opposition. And they know that this is the truth, that the truth and the way in the hide. That makes them not want this kind of conversation. They want the conversation to just stop around whether people have a right to protest or they do not have a right to protest. No, people do have a right to protest. People have legitimate reasons also to protest in this case. They have seen the corruption. They have seen the exploitation. They've seen the incapacity of their political leaders, the unwillingness of their political leaders to defend them in the face of a monstrous dictatorship that is so corrupt and vile. So when you are looking for the terrorist, you will have to start by saying the president has been a terroristic leader. He cares less. The loot of the treasury is an act of terror, because you are basically denying Sierra Leoneans the use of resources for the provision of the economic and social services that are required for human existence, peace, dignity. So that's where the terrorism is, not even among this poverty-stricken population that has suffered from the atrocious governance of this political elite found in all these parties. We have to call them. This is why I think they do not want a conversation like this to happen. This is why they are coming at you. So, and also coming at me, because we basically, they call the questions as they are. They do not want the truth to be known to the ordinary people, because the day people are awoken to the truth and see, say, the people when they defend for another problem, you will see that this horizontal violence, where it happens, misplaced violence and misplaced anger, is going to be directed at the very politicians, and they don't want that. And that was what we were basically helping the people to see where the problem is, who are the problem. When we don't point the people in direction of parliament, say that parliament are the problem, what is Abbas Bundu? Then put checkpoint, also have to protect themselves. They even pass bylaw for saying nobody not for going to parliament other than without invitation. Now they know how to protect themselves when the people face them directly, when real pressure is coming to the places where the problem is. But when they know they have directed the problem to the people and made the people the problem, and then now they became spectators of the movie. And when the people have killed each other, they now turn and say, then they use now for accuse the young company that we don't disagree with among the thieving gangs. Say that why another causa, and now calling people they are terrorists. If they knew that this was a problem, they know how to protect. If they know how to protect themselves in parliament so that people don't go attack them in parliament, Why did they not protect the people from the kind of confrontation that resulted into the deaths? But now then they authorize more killings. That's what we're hearing from this distance.
And then in the face of all of
In the
this,
face of all
the
of this, they presented a
opposition
minimum.
happened to be very, very silent. Where
Yeah,
is
yeah,
now
yeah.
is the time,
Not only
because
silent.
the people cannot fight back at this time because then
Exactly.
they're under siege.
Yeah,
But
they
you,
understand.
the opposition, you get power enough and with the constitution. So you can ask radio stations, yeah, for bring
Yeah.
you cap so you go talk to the people. And
This,
if that is sanctioned, I mean, if the leading party say no, you can't do this and what have you, you still get emails then where you can channel the message out for say, well, these are the conditions. But so far they haven't told us any of this, which shows that, I mean, they are silent, and being silent shows complicity.
of
Would
course,
you agree
not
with
only
that?
that. The government not silent. The government called the Minister of Foreign Affairs, called all the
No, not the,
diplomats.
not the government, not the
No,
government chairman.
no.
Talking
So
about
no,
the,
this is what I'm saying. The government decided to hold the press conference, public broadcast, addressing the diplomats,
and tell
justify
the
why they
world.
have to call them terrorists. The opposition likewise get the right
They do the same,
to
call the
call
diplomatic
diplomats
court.
in state their own case, but they've never done
Absolutely.
that. So
So
the
are you
question is,
saying, are you
uh,
saying, are you
yeah.
saying that so far they haven't followed this trend? Because suffice me for asking you that question, of course I get me daily bread, and I not being follow social media up to the point where they can to this. But I they expect that should have happened, and you make the case.
Oh,
If the government can do it, the opposition can.
immediately, not just for issue. If you look the press release with an issue, it's like a press release that is written by a class five picking. It's badly punctuated, badly written press release, signed by a member of parliament who is the acting secretary general of the illegal committee. Go look at it and look how even the structural arrangement of the text is not what the paper in which it was printed.
That shows insincerity.
That shows the level of lack of commitment
Commitment.
in
Yeah.
a
I will.
situation and sincerity to actually fighting for the party, fighting to
Yeah.
protect the membership of the party. The people who are accused of being terrorists are not accused because they are just because they are believed to be supporters of the party in question. The press release written by the acting secretary of the illegal 21-man committee is not what the paper is written. The comment made by the acting chair of the illegal committee made up of the representative faction is not even something you want to listen to. It's not in the interest of the party, not in the interest of every member of the party. The party cannot say the party's business to defend its membership, young and old, new and retired. Okay, that is the business of the party. That's why people identify with political parties, subscribe to those political parties, pay dues, and vote for parties. The party, in return, as an organization, has a responsibility to defend its membership in the face of an unfair and organized attack from the state. What has the leaders of the so-called 21-man illegal committee done to protect their members? No. The press release they issued is the equivalent of a 5-year-old essay, the essay of a fifth grade student, class 5 picking.
So
And they write that kind.
the evidence that we may potentially be
No,
looking for in terms of collusion, Chernoh, it's not like this classical needle in a haystack. It's bold. It's just
oh,
there,
no, no,
right
they are
here.
being insincere. The supporters of these politicians are insincere to themselves, not to me. You don't understand? Basically, what we are looking at is the consequence that these devious and dishonest activities of a handful of people, because of the hold that they have on power, has caused to the millions of Sierra Leoneans who are powerless. Because none of these politicians then picking their day in the street on Wednesday. None of them. But they will exploit the uneducated. They will exploit the unemployed. They will exploit the poverty and the misery that they have created
Yeah,
among the
but this is
population.
classic politics for us. It's nothing new, but it's good way they
Yeah,
highlight
yeah,
them.
yeah.
Which
But
leads me
but
for ask
but
you
the
this
good,
question.
yeah.
Which leads me for ask you this question. Prior to now, in fact, we did a good summary of this program, yeah, from the very beginning, an historical analysis or context, if you will like. So before now, and you have said this many a times, there was Tombo, there was Lonsa, there was McKinney, there was Pademba Road, and many more. Mile 91, and you name it. And we didn't hear much outcry as we hear now. The reason why they ask you this, Chernoh, because I want you to lay the case as to what is really happening. I mean, we don't come this far because we get a brief understanding, but I ask you again, you get those who seem to have been in some state of shock, and you get those who seem for they in some state of denial, psychological reverse, if you go like, in which when it be happened today, the people that were happened to were foreigners or were mercenaries. These were not Sierra Leoneans, so there was not much outcry. But when it happened now, there is some amount of people where they cry and say, this is foul play. This should not be, I mean, these people are terrorists and what have you. I wonder whether you can get a distinction for we, if you understand the case why they try for make between the then and the now.
I think it's obvious because now we're heading to elections. That are the only, if I understand the question properly, we are heading to elections right now, and it's the elections are also conditioned on Madabio continuing. Madabio is about to make history as the first president in independent Sierra Leone that is going to be voted out, popularly voted out by the majority of Sierra Leoneans because of an obvious failure and the higher levels of corruption that he has been involved in. And at the same time, there is a constant effort and program on his part in alliance with people in power, people in the opposition who are trying to make sure that does not happen. And we don't talk about the reason for that. So which is why in this case, we don't see the targets, the known targets of the supposed action, even though there has never been an investigation. I don't know whether this is what your question was alluding to. If there's any difference, the fact that we are going to elections and the president is looking at his strategy to rig the election being exposed step by step, not only the strategy, but the people, the agents of the strategy are also being exposed. So both the state, the president will try for rig, the agents of the strategy of rigging and the strategy has been exposed. The agents of the strategy are being exposed. So they all have a collective interest for protect each other, which is what they did in parliament. They look at the parliament, they say, just
Chernoh, you even go beyond that. But from the layman point of view, now the division now been a try for outline.
Well, maybe, of course. The division in the ruling party, the opposition we know has been fragmented all this while. Then there is a constant effort on the part of younger generation of people for example, in the APC, we want for get rid of the old guards of the party, which I believe in my own personal thinking, if you were to ask me, I would support the emergence of new leaders in political parties, especially fresh, young minds. But they should be able to struggle for leadership of their political parties independent of their association with the state. They not for go use Madabio for make it help them for take over their party, so that then say go give Madabio help them for make it take over the mandate of the people by force. We cannot have a stolen mandate on both ends. The young people in the APC or younger generation of politicians in the APC who want to get rid of the older folks in their party should not have a stolen mandate over their party granted to them by the state. And the president cannot have a second term as a stolen mandate also granted to him by the politicians in the opposition who is helping to have a stolen mandate in their political parties. That is the difference. And because this strategy of the symbiotic stolen mandate agenda of both groups, people who want to lead their political parties in preparation for 2028, and the president who want to remain up to 2028. One group in power, one group out of power, waiting to go into power. So now exchange, this man don't care with the young generation hijacking young party, go na power, then other people in the opposition say, this man be young people there. They say drive all the old party and people take power. So we say, if we're able to drive young old party and take power in our party, but we will do it with Madabio. May Madabio help we. So that is what you're looking at. Because if you have corruption, really, you want for use that's alone for assess the politician there will hardly be one. You can hardly you will have a handful that will escape the rubric or the metric of assessing a non-corrupt politician in Sierra Leone. So basically, now this effort of the younger generation of the politicians in the opposition, where thinks that they should be the next generation of leaders, preparing to inherit the state, and they cannot do that. They want to overthrow their own mentors. Then these are people who have mentored them, who have propped them up to national prominence. They now don't see themselves say it is their own time to be in charge of their political parties, and they felt the opposition leadership, these gerontocrats, these old guards in the APC, no one gave them a chance. So they found an opportunity in Madabio, who also want to get rid of those hardcore politicians, old politicians that we fight against for kind of power, make it displace the inside so that you left here and then young man, I made a left no more now. Young man then are the young man and young woman then are the opposition, and in young age brackets. So this is it's both a generational struggle and also a struggle of betrayal. Classic movie of betrayal, like they call them the kind of things we read in wild novels or wild movies, which I have. The other day, I tell a friend, I say, when I look at when I uncover the covenant and levels of betrayal in the APC and the alliances in the SLPP, from where the more I see it, I have been sick to my stomach. I haven't recovered up to now in these 2 months. Because putting politics aside, I cannot imagine the level of human betrayal that I've seen in these characters. And my fear, this is my own personal fear, why I have been sick to the stomach, we will not have a country, we will have a jungle of mafia, a mafia jungle. If this BO continues to 5 years and the current covenant they are building turns up, we are having at least 10, 15 to 20 years of a mafia arrangement. And the sad part, if these young politicians could connive with the state against their own gerontocratic mentors in their own parties to overthrow them in this kind of fashion and even sell them out, what guarantees do we have when they assume state power? What kind of political leaders they will be? They will not take a blink to kill any opponent there and then in cold blood. We will have worse leaders than what we see in Rwanda in the likes of Kagame. That is my fear.
Absolutely.
I want to be able to go to Sierra Leone as an intellectual, as an academic, to be able to teach in a university or retire in a village and be able to continue speaking about things that affect the society without somebody coming at night to kill me at home. I don't want to live in exile for the rest of my life. I want to return to my country to be able to live among my people, be their voice, be able to speak for them when these politicians continue to steal. I want to retire with my gray hair, but continue to maintain that voice for the people if it's absent. That I want to do. But I see, say, the young people of my age or a few years older than me who have decided to engage in this politics of betrayal and looking forward to state power. If they are in power, they will definitely kill people like me and other people who hold similar kind of opinions will not be able to live in a country like Sierra Leone. That is the fear. So if when I look for flag bearer support, my support here is the country. I want a peaceful environment because I see the danger. It's now dangerous for me to go to Sierra Leone. It's going to be more dangerous and impossible for me to return to Sierra Leone if this group of people, with the way the non-force sell their own people themselves, their own mentors, what them they cost me for. If they assume state power, they will become murderers in power, more than the BO that they are protecting right now. That's what I need to understand.
Right, Chernoh.
It has gone beyond corruption. It has gone beyond just the stealing of money. It has gone beyond the receipts that we see. It is going to go to a situation where you will have killer gangs killing people silently. You don't know them. That is what
if
is
not, if it is not already started.
It's already there. Look at the people way back.
You paint a bleak picture.
It is bleak. That's why I've been sick to my stomach looking at this situation, because the young people should be the future. These young people, some of them we went to school together. I am thinking, in as much as we disagree with APC or SLPP, if we have people who are young people, today's generation, if they are thinking of leadership, they should be able to fight in the open and get leadership. We know who they are. We see who they are. If we have to, now the future, this is what we think, say, if we change Sierra Leone, we'll go for change. But if they don't become this crooked and devious scheming politicians in the shadows, if they come to the national stage, what kind of country do we have? What kind of government are we going to have with power?
Let's take it from what kind of country do we have, or what kind of government are we going to have? We can see it already without it have to be in hard print like black and white. We see the circumstances where they play out right before us. That's why I said you paint a bleak picture, but the picture where even though as bleak as it is, it look very true. And until something is done, then that's the direction that we are going to go. Okay, so you don't address this many a times, but I think I'm going to ask you this for one last time. And I want to let you just touch on it briefly, because I get one or two questions for let we close the program, because we've approached, or we are on the 3 hour mark. So I just want to let you address this first one briefly, and then we move on to one or two other questions for let you answer. So theoretically, they talk about collusion of the opposition and government, which is not impossible, by the way. Fambo, let me make this clear, because some people then just think say that this is impossible. No, it is not. They can close rank. If they can do them when other parties then threaten them, which means that they can do them on different levels. But in this case, we are understanding, say, the theory points to a fact that 2023 is a given that the president will be given his second term, on the basis that some opposition leader then go collude with them for help and for the second term, that in go help for promote their interest in the future. Do I capture that correctly?
Definitely. Without that,
Okay.
the whole and summary of the whole thing.
Okay, Chernoh. So here it is. Let me land with the question, the £1,000,000 question, or the atomic bomb. So, in my opinion, there is no guarantee to that. And even these opposition party people them where potentially could be colluding may know this, but in the present situation, of course, in the bigger scheme of things, could still be taking chance, but there could be other incentives, probably financial. So they decide for go with them for the short term than the longer term. Your view, please.
Yeah, that is, I think you don't sum them up perfectly. The fact of the matter is that's why I keep talking about economic and political interest. In the short term, it's economic. They're going to be paid off. Okay. In the long run, they are hoping at 2028. But the risk here, those who are bargaining with BO in this kind of arrangement, they have a risk, which is whether he's going to live up to that arrangement. But they believe he might, because the constitution talks in 2 terms. There is a possibility it go say no. So each of these people, that's the risk of opportunism. This is what it does. It blinds you to the dangers ahead. It blinds you to the dangers ahead. And this is what we are calling them up against. You don't understand? Saying, when the how are they rich again, and we the people and therefore can't do again, but talk say, Mother be no one left power, I can't fetter. This is what moves the country into also armed struggles and other kinds of things, where leaders come with an understanding, gets to power, get their way, and then they begin to doubt whether they should leave power. And not only that, there are also other competing interests apart from the interest in the opposition. They have to look beyond. Their counterparts in the SLPP also have their own ambition. But all of these chain of ambitions, they don't collide right now. We have what we call unity of opposites and the unity of the clash of opportunism as well. So beyond theory is beyond theory, and practically we're seeing it unfolding. Already there is the immediate danger, the immediate ambition first. Now, how did they take over the APC? They have to take over their own political party first, and they need the backing of the state to do that. And they are almost achieving that, because you see, say they took the party to court, and now they have a caretaker committee. But you see, because of their conflicting interests, see the argument between them already. So which means in the process when they try for each group, they try to consolidate in your own gains. Now that's how the external people like we can begin to see the problem. Say, oh, this is not just a problem, internal problem of the party. It's going to be a national crisis, a national problem. And I think what you've pointed out is not just whether the insurance that they need to make sure that agreement, that gentleman's agreement, the agreement of the mafia is implemented, but also now potential crisis you don't point at, which speaks to what we are looking at now. Because this same politician that they go sit down at you building and talk, say they don't endorse Anas Nkrumah for the 3rd time as chairman and leader of the party in 2013. I think in 2014 or 2015, some of them again, these young politicians again, Ademingo announced Ernest Kuruma as chairman and leader for life. At the time, some of us criticized that. We wrote letters, we wrote articles, we spoke about it and saying it's undemocratic. None of these APC politicians at the time were opposed to the gerontocrats now. Objected. They did not even object at the time when the chairman and leader dismissed the vice president. Some of them wanted to even be appointed. And those of them were even opposed to being appointed or selected. We are also beneficiaries of appointment and selection against the people who they are now insulting and criticizing, including the parliamentary leader of the opposition who became a deputy flag bearer by selection or appointment. The same way the court appointed them now to be in charge as caretakers of their political party. So now this we talk about. I think the question where you raise is not just of the immediate contradiction surrounding this kind of politics, but also it speaks to a looming danger ahead. A looming danger ahead. A danger where we face with a situation whose other competing interests go for collide with this arrangement in the future. Because you don't expect politicians and SLPP not forget their own inheritance agenda as well, say after beyond a way on. So this has been the competition among the elite. The unfortunate side, the masses, ordinary people, where they lose all the time, and then always they suffer casualties, including those who have died on Wednesday this week. So what we are doing here is basically for the first time, or maybe among many other things that we've done in the past and now for continuously the point people them. We must have seen that this is high time we break away from this kind of situation. It can be done. And that is what they do not want to, all the politicians and get the interest of protect this kind of situation, which is why you see now the APC, for example, when they praise Africanist press, they are opposed to Africanist press now. Because real questions are being directed to their way. Questions that hinder their own agenda. Selfish agenda, by the way, not an agenda that uplifts the nation. Because if any genuine opposition politician will never find fault with highlighting corruption of an incumbent government, will make it an issue. Okay, we'll find that it's an assistance to their pursuit of power. But they will only find problem with it because it does not serve their immediate interest. So now that, because the easy thing to do in a country, in a multi-party environment, is to be an opposition politician. You don't need any proof to be an opposition politician. You just need to speak on behalf of the people. Take on the issues of the day. When an opposition politician's commitment to being an opposition politician is being questioned, the first thing you ask is how many issues this politician don't raise we really touch on the daily affairs of the ordinary man. Issues of bread and butter, issues of corruption, injustice, and all of that. Like we point out now, where are they in the face of this assault and killings? Yeah. Other countries, the opposition will be on fire right now, holding the government. Say, how can you call us? Then they're going to demand an independent investigation, sir. The opposition will be demanding an independent investigation, but the call for an independent investigation coming from us, outside citizens who have no relationship or no share in these political parties. So even when they talk, say they should not, the politician the way don't go in bed, the opposition way don't go in bed with the ruling party must not allow the ruling party for go harass them, colleague them, opposition members. Some of their supporters are saying that because we support that, they will not support that. You see, it is also their own, it's their duty and their responsibility for protecting comrades. Huh? You say comrade. Comradeship means to live and to die together in the trenches. That's what comradeship is. To be and to live and struggle and die together in the trenches. Your comrades do not abandon you when you're under siege. That's not comradeship. That's sellout. That's sellout.
Okay, okay, Mr. Barr. Obviously, these are not the days of the Patrice Lumumbas, the Kwame Osaji, the Julius Walimu Nireres,
because they use word that will appear for be progressive.
Absolutely, it's to baffle and razzle and dazzle. But they fail for no say that the people are emerging. I mean, the level of literacy is still is still questionable, but people are imagining, and I make a call this the unsung hero of our time. At least everybody know how to press the button on a smartphone. I get one or two more questions for ask you that will bring this brilliant program to a close. And one of them will be straightforward, Mr. Barr. What drives you into this? What fuels you? Where are you deriving this oxygen from? Because it's quite a dangerous game for you. I mean, taking on political heavyweights with less resources as opposed to the state, but yet still you keep going on. What's your interest in all of this? Because definitely there must be an interest. So, what it is, what moves you, what motivates you, what drives you?
I have, since my childhood, I found it difficult to live in a situation of injustice. I'm not just able for see injustice, even when I decide not to. It comes to me sometimes. I decide, say tomorrow, this weekend, I know they do nothing but salon, or no they. Then I wake up in the morning, I just say, boom, something happens. I find myself not being unable to remain silent. I have. It's just a fact of nature where I have not been able to look at injustice and oppression and just close my eyes on it. It's impossible. So what, and not only that, what is my interest? I've told you, I want to be able to live peacefully in my country, hold an opinion of my own, and articulate that opinion about what I think should be done to make the country better. I should, right now, it's impossible for me to do that. I am officially exiled as a consequence of the opinion that I hold about Bill. I have seen my name in government records, official government records, from the office of the president to the attorney general's office to other institutions, talking about how they should be, how I should be arrested, how I should be brought to justice. For what? Not to go on a hold, not to mamikos a cause. I just write about,
That's the power of the pen.
yeah, what I think should be done in the interest of people, the masses of ordinary people. You don't understand. So now I just alluded to this. If we have this kind of betraying politicians, betrayers, people who have betrayed their own mentors in their own political parties just because they want to be on top of their political parties and eventually at the level of the state, you expect, say, in the final analysis, what we are going to contend with now, a murderous government, a government that will murder people like me or other people who think they should serve as a conscience of the nation. We get forget people in our country where we say they should be able to speak out and hold governments accountable on behalf of the people. That is, so I want to live in that environment where my views and my writings should not be the cause of a death sentence to me. And now my writing and my voice has made it impossible for me to be able to travel to Sierra Leone, to live there and work there. In the past, I faced dangers and criticism and insult, but now it has become impossible to even live in my country because of pen and paper. So the people away they try for help Mother Biafra extend, they are basically individuals who are making it impossible for me to even return to Sierra Leone personally, to live in my country, a country I call, and I'm a country, Dandy. For the better part of my life, this is the first time I have lived outside of Sierra Leone for this long, 5 years. And if Mother Biafra, they rig an election, we get a monster who has decided that if I go to Sierra Leone, they will put me in jail or maybe assassinate me because of my writings. And of course, you see what I've written. So now I have come to learn my own writing is not just offending even the people in power, but even people in opposition who think that my writing is affecting
So
their own.
which puts you in an impossible situation, Chernoh.
Very, very
Should
difficult.
the people where you write against, even in opposition, appear for prevail? So this is going to be an ongoing fight. That's the point I'm
Oh,
trying to
yeah,
make.
yeah. So you see, so we not get for that's why we are saying we need to democratize our environment because we have to have a situation where people's voices, even if they disagree with state policy, they are in conflict with state policy. The responsibility of government, a democracy, now for harness public opinion, not to shut down public opinion. Because the collectivization of divergent voices does not only improve the society, it improves the quality of governance. Because ideas, not everybody can be part of the government, but you can benefit from the ideas outside of government if the public space is open. And that are the role of intellectuals, the role of journalists, the role of academics, the role of other professionals. If me a university teacher, I should be able to teach and live off my teaching without necessarily having anything to do with people in power, except where I think the policies of those in power are not only affecting me as a teacher, but they are affecting other people also in other professions. So I speak out against that so that the environment, national environment, should be able to function. People should be able to function national environment free. Why you think say people na salon now with them PhDs no one for go teach in a university, they want for be consultant in a state house? Because in July, academics lecturers are not getting paid. Their salary is so miserable, they are not even they skip pay for 1 or 2 months. The nutritionist of the president with no qualification gets 2 times the salary of a lecturer with a PhD. So when we talk about harmonization of salaries, that's what we're talking about. Pay people good salaries so they do not have to be dependent on party politics. You don't see? So these issues what they talk about, not for make we enemies of the state, not for become a death sentence to people like, death sentence. Because if I have kids, they should be able to function in Sierra Leone, to be able to work without necessarily being slave to their conscience. Most people they work in the government now in political positions, they agree with what we're saying. They know it's true, but they cannot say it because saying it will mean loss of job, loss of position. This violent politics are because it's the only place where people will get decent salaries. So now that make them support flag bearer and they fight against each other, not because they hate these people. All man want a young man, a young woman, and for their ahead so that instead will get in you. We have to change that. We have to change that. Because if we not change that, we destroy even the way we talk about free quality education, national development, social enterprising. It's impossible in an environment of dictatorship where the state, your relationship with politicians and political groups, political warlords determine how you are going to function. So my interest is to be able to work in Sierra Leone without caring about who is the president, whether it's my friend. I should be able to come out and say, to hell with you. Your policies and programs are detrimental to the progress of the nation. And then going home and knowing that somebody's coming to kill me. I will tell you, that Sierra Leone have been there. When APC was in power, I held multiple press conferences in Freetown. They talk about every policy. In fact, to the point that I became the cutting edge in the public policy debate throughout the period of the Ernest Koroma government. Every radio station and television station interviewed me. They have records of that. Apart from the writings that I did. I was holding press conference when people are killed in Chernoh to talk about it when government sell out ADAX and lands, Sokfin and all this. I was holding press conferences and going on radio and talking about it. Some of the opposition politicians in now, where they try for fix the election for Madabio, that they be in power. They came to me even trying to co-opt me to join their government. I refused. I said, no. I know we'll go to public and talk, say, you guys are corrupt. Your policies are detrimental to national progress and national development and are support to that. I cannot do that. Now, interestingly, they are in opposition. Some of them are even being asked to assist in how to co-opt me, for make me silent. When they're not able, they are using all kinds of techniques and tactics, including campaign of disinformation, slander, and discouragement, and even blocking my access to the population, the information will go out to the population. So this is the reality of the situation. So if you ask me my interest, I should be able to have the right to free speech, the right to live in my country freely without being hindered or being facing death threats or threat of reprisal because of the things that I do, because I will continue to do what I will do. We will change.
Do you, Chernoh, feel disappointed by the press sludge as a whole, which I believe you were once a member of or still a member of?
No, I've never joined sludge. For me, I take my time in joining. I've become a member of few organizations in the world. And part of the reason, because I've not ever joined the Association of Journalists, I've been a journalist, but I've refused to be a member simply because I have watched how sludge as a trade union, has been operating, both in the past and now. Increasingly now, is no longer, to me, even a trade union of journalists, because a trade union should not be a subvented agency.
Oh
They
yeah,
are smart.
absolutely. But yes, my question, Chernoh.
So I've
So
been disappointed with them since ago, long time ago. So I have
yeah,
become
okay,
easily disappointed. Yeah.
understood. But now, at a critical point in time, you are expecting at least some solidarity with the press union of Sierra Leone because you're a journalist by profession
Yeah.
anyway.
Press
So
union, press
yeah,
unions should be able to defend journalists and the right to free speech,
whether you're a member
whether
or
you're a
not.
member or not, because I'm not a
Okay.
member of the committee to protect journalists. But when they saw that I have actually saw evidence that I have faced an attack because of my role as a journalist, they issued a statement in my
So
defense.
yeah, here's my question then. Are you disappointed that you not feel this kind of love or
No,
solidarity for being professional in your case? Do you sort of equate yourself like Julian Assange, for example, then use in work, when he began at the height of his career and when he fall out of grace, they all remain either silent or complicit with the people and when they prosecute them. Do you see yourself as such?
um, another one for that is left for the people to decide. This is what I want to say, that I am not surprised with the reaction that I receive, that I'm looking at, because I know now more than I knew, and I keep finding out things every day. So the interest groups entrenched. The I have very good friends or people that I know in the media. Some of them hold me in high esteem, in an admirable position. I know that. But I know again, many of them, again, even when they disagree with me in their private corners, they do admire some of the things I have done. Okay. So while I do not want to characterize voting as disappointment. No, I'm not disappointed. In life, every individual will pursue those things they think is in their own interest. Some people will decide to um, do things that will be for the collective, other people for their own. So I do not fault them for the situation. But I want to also say that I have very good friends in the media in Sierra Leone, some of whom are also people I mentored, some of whom are colleagues. So I have worked with them in the past, and I still talk to some of them. And one of my main practice in the morning, I wake up 2 a.m. my own time in the US, which is like 7 a.m. right now in Sierra Leone. So I receive the front pages, images on the front page of every newspaper that comes out of Sierra Leone on a daily basis. From the post office, we sign to go share them. And I read the front pages. If there's any article I'm interested in, I ask, can you scan this for me and send them? So I'll read it and keep it. So basically, I'm able to remain abreast with the situation in Sierra Leone with this distance because I have
Are you
journalists.
not putting those people in danger with
No, no,
this
no, no,
cyber
no, no. No, these are not
because
my
they are
investigators. These are
communicating
just
with somebody who
no,
is
I'm not.
excommunicado?
No, no, I'm not saying. I'm not naming names. I'm just saying. I did not say people who work for Africanist Press. These are general information. I'm saying that when I
We
knew.
do agree, but you are in the hot spot. That's the point I'm trying to make.
No, I
You are
am not.
public enemy number one.
I haven't named names. I have many of these people
Okay,
in
fair enough.
you know,
Fair
even as
enough.
a
Chernoh,
Nigerian,
let me.
Nasalon are born, and then I go school, primary school, secondary school, till I get my first degree in Nasalon. You don't understand? So there's hardly any public institution where I don't get party. There's hardly where I don't get somebody where I go school with where I know. So this is why no matter how government try for stop me work Nasalon, they impossible for do. You don't understand? Because I am of the place and in the place and rooted in Sierra Leone. That's where my roots are. That's where my connections are. That's where I
Chernoh,
call.
you've spoken many a times about threats directed at you, intimidation, and you name it. My question directly is: do you fear for your life? Do you genuinely fear for your life?
Of course, I am concerned about not just my safety, the safety of my family. I get a family. I get a very young family. Of course, you know that because we don't talk. Um, I constantly fear, not just for now, but even for the future. My work has had tremendous ramifications. For example, a couple of years ago, when we published, when this opposition were cheering, steering, and happy and hugging my work, I did not know there were a sector of the opposition that was really opposed to it. And few of those elements made attempts to reach me personally, then send agents for talk to me. And these are people I know, friends. Every human being wants friends. You want friends, you want acquaintances, you want allies. So it's natural that we open our circle to embrace people. So each time I do that, each time I attempt to embrace people now outside of my own known circles, closing the circle, I embrace people who I end up discovering to be agents of groups that are actually trying to not just find out what I do, but to destroy it and also destroy me. So, and it's difficult for you to know who is who in this situation. Sometimes I talk to the wrong people, in fact.
Absolutely.
But the good thing is, even when I appear to interact and converse with people who are agents or even part of the groups that I'm fighting against, now I have also survived particular situations. My work has also survived the destruction and plans of those people. Sometimes not for my own making, because I cannot claim credit for everything. Now God, faith also has made me to survive. So personally, apart from the psychological dimensions of this situation, the anger that it produces within me, and the isolation that it provides, there are tremendous risks that I face in terms of who I have to make friends, people I want to interact with. So I keep making and losing friends, as you say. Part of it gets to do with the fact that those I want to make friends end up being actually opponents of my work, because my work affects them. So I keep getting that, and it's frustrating. It's so painful sometimes because no individual want to live alone. I do not set out to do my work to make enemies. I set out to do my work hoping that it will benefit society today and in the future.
But along the way, you will have made that calculation as a smart man that not everybody is going to be friends.
No, I know that. So now I have settled with it. That way, because you asked me a human question, I have to address it humanly.
Yeah.
At the same time, again, I have been resilient, because each time I see attack against my work coming from even people that have brought close to me, I become much more determined and much more resilient. Like, for example, I woke up, I woke up very early today because sometimes I wake up 2 o'clock, 2 a.m. to remain abreast, review papers from Sierra Leone, review things that are happening in Sierra Leone, pay attention. By the time I know it is almost daybreak. So after prayers in the morning, you just move on. Sometimes you even keep doing stuff. You forget to even eat or take care of yourself because you're just concerned about the country. You see this violence. Now we've been spending every day talking about this because we want people to get clarity. Even though they try to explain this, there are people not just trying to destroy it, but also preventing this information from getting to the public. So it's a constant war, constant battle. When they know they cannot bribe you, they cannot compromise you, they cannot destroy your work, they cannot match you in other ways, they also find other means to make sure.
Chernoh, constant war, constant battle, same people. How do we reconcile this?
I think I have resigned to the point that I will just do my own part and allow posterity to judge all of us. I have celebrated the things that I've done as an individual. I'm happy that I'm still able to do the things that I'm doing in the midst of other responsibilities. And this is something that gives me peace, that gives me happiness. I keep doing it. And at the same time, in as much as I've faced difficulties with it, I have very good friends. Some who I do not know, who admire the work that I do, who are not even Sierra Leoneans. Like, for example, when I confronted the government of Salone and see the pressure begin come, now international organizations, some international organizations, I don't know, people were willing to write in my defense, to defend me, because of the integrity of the work and the quality of the work that they see you do. So, and I believe every good work, every sacrifice has its own reward. Not as a form of payment, but the satisfaction you get that you did something. At least that's one thing. So I'm hopeful that regardless of the challenges that we look at, I'm still hopeful that one day the situation is going to be made less difficult for people. In fact, now with the SIAM, because in 20 years, while they do journalism, and now as even being, we talk about, I say, the day we confront the issues and the real issues, the system becomes really under attack from ordinary people or outside people for the process of change, you will see direct collaboration between APC and SLPP for protect each other and protect the status quo. That is what we are looking at when it comes to this Africanist press and the work of exposing corruption in Sierra Leone. Now, we know that not only SLPP people have an interest in protecting the government, but APC people have an interest also in protecting the SLPP who are being exposed, because they also think that when they come to power, they're going to do the same thing, or they have an interest in what is going on. So I think we don't spend more time talking about myself and my work instead of...
Yeah, exactly. And you've done quite well. So I will stop it right there. But if I get one final question for you, but before I go to that final question, family, I just want to remind you now that we've had this brilliant program between myself, the platform basically, and Chernoh Akbaba of the Africanist Press. And there's many more things to talk about. I mean, it's going to be endless. Like newspaper people, or news organs in particular, say we're not going to be out of business anytime soon, because news, now catch up game now they play because it's flowing so fast, it's so fluid. I want to know say there are many more programs coming. On Sunday, we get another brother we then call Mohammed Warise. He will be on the program. He's a brother who is also highly opinionated and he gets his own views. So we'll be having conversations with them. We get a sister who is vying for some APC position. She will be on the platform on Monday. And on Tuesday, we do have brother, what's his name? They call Comrade Koita. Comrade Koita will be on the program. Very many programs coming on, but these are the three watering programs, then where they follow up on the back of their successful programs then that we've held in behalf of the Sierra Leonean people. Chernoh, my final question to you is, there are new developments in the country as a consequence of what happened 2-3 days ago, in which there were loss of lives. I don't know what the figures are up till now. They get confusing figures, and in an age of where we depend on now internet, where they try for use you and all kind of different things for let you put out fake information out there so that they will criticize you. We have been very, very tampered. We take, here the stage. We're not there in the business of breaking news. I want to break the news, so then call me, even while they're in my toilet. You don't hear this, say, bam, then you tweet them out, and then you become a laughing stock. But having said this, the trend to which the country they move, assuming theoretically what will be discussed, or some people and they think government collude with, or the opposition collude with government, forget we to the position USA we did, or it was true that the protest, we all know say a protest being necessary. We've spoken about that before it even happened. The conditions, the elements were all there. So when it flare out, you expect them kind of violence then they as a consequence of state action. That's why the blame squarely goes, and I think you've said that, to both the ruling party and the opposition, because they facilitate the room in which this, yet resentment grow. But it's happened now, and the government now is trying to play some kind of catch-up game, but some with, some draconian measures. And we have just only beginning to see the beginnings of this. But they've already told us, those of us that have got ears to listen and eyes to see, A, it was a coup attempt to unseat the government, and this is serious. And this is not the allegation where the government only waste. B, it amount to treason, and they accuse those who participated of being treasonous. And now the opposition party, clearly, and we also talk, say, the opposition party will have come up with a strong statement. But what you say, I not see the statement yet, but it amount to a fifth grader, a sixth grader putting out a statement on something this serious. True to the caption of this particular program, the democracy day in crisis na Sierra Leone. What do you think, as a social scientist, a journalist, a political scientist, a doctor to be of political science? What are your thoughts? Where do you see us going towards? And as bad as I think I suppose it will look like, how do we withdraw from this cliff so that we save ourselves, as a nation?
No, I think say we go for this is why it's important for me to explain the reality of the situation, because the politicians and then the political groups and then the politicians get the interest for misinform the people then. So I think it's still possible to reverse the situation in the interest of the country, in the interest of ordinary people. And at this make you see, say, we are relentless in terms of coming out and speaking out, because citizen action, proper citizen action with sufficient political education and knowledge of the issues is very important. It's not just the noise around it, it's the knowledge about what are the real issues of the, we'll go for tackle. So I am saying programs like yours has been helpful, because if nobody knows say and self, at least we don't able make 5,000 or 7,000 people don't watch you over the last 2 3 days. That is no small contribution. These 5,000 or 7,000 people might not perhaps be thinking or knowing some of this information we're talking about as hard as it is. So I think say this ongoing conversation is a part of the process. But we therefore demand first and foremost an independent investigation and impress upon the international community and friends of Sierra Leone and well-meaning Sierra Leoneans for set the agenda about what we think should be done. At the area about negotiation, someone called me and say, don't you think we get for form some kind of committee, because in say Facebook we assume the Facebook for negotiate with for regarding how for no, I tell them, say no, we do not take negotiation. Me no go be part of a process for negotiate after a group of people have set a stage that has led to the death of innocent people. No. What I would call for is the empaneling of an independent group of people who will look into the crisis and the situation. That's one. Secondly, it's high time we begin to tell Madabiu that what we want is a free and fair election. If we allow people an opportunity for conduct and participate and be involved in the election without hindrance, and that include for leave the opposition politicians for settle their own problems on their own without interference, either directly or indirectly. So now that I think that some of the actions they will for take. But I plan to roll out the email of President Madabiu to the citizens of Sierra Leone and send a direct email of them what they want for seeing the country, including the independence of the judiciary, the hands-off political parties, and also the setting up of an independent panel of investigators for investigate the atrocities that don't happen in this week, and perhaps all other killings will don't take place. Because whether he do it now, he not do it now, if he left office, he's going to not just be held accountable for stealing money, but for stealing the lives of innocent Sierra Leoneans. These killings will not happen. Elect Madabiu say na terrorists then do more, na opposition people go hold them now. He go lie there because I didn't have power. And the fact say he don't dominate the judiciary and itself. The same way we accuse an opponent of stealing of $4.6 million when he knows that officials in the government will transfer him in 2019 itself. So the day he left power and he's going to leave power, he's going to be held responsible for this situation, whether he likes it or not. So that may one for say. And end up, we can begin for push for them demands. But key things will be to ask for, at minimum, an independent investigation, and for ask international partners of Salon for step in and help the people of Sierra Leone get peace, and also be able to vote freely and fairly in the next election. That is what we want. And I want to thank you for this opportunity and for those who have been listening to us.
Thank you so much, Mr. Barr. Just a quick one. The flyer we want to see now the mainstream now. What have been to talk about? Say we the host another brother called Mohammed Warise on Sunday. Please don't forget to tune in, because this is a continuation of the program on Salon. The view might be different, but the conversation is just the same, and it's about our country. So please don't forget for tuning. At the same time, just want to show you this. This is me and another vocal, charismatic former, not even former. I say former because he's now been incarcerated. This is me and Mohammed Kamarimba Mansari. Had a little talk with him. I am on your screen. I will be on the left. Kamarimba, of course, a massive guy with a white baseball cap, is on the right. Had few conversations with him, very charismatic, and he's still being incarcerated in jail despite a judge giving bail, granting bail, is still there. So these are the inequities then where we talk about. You see? So when we arrive, we start with this. So don't not forget, all these things are material. Chernoh, I want to say thank you so much for your time. I mean, the last time it was you commending me about the time. This time it's me commending you about your time. For sit down 3-4 hours for talk, there has to be something to it in which the spirit of giving, the spirit of feeling, the spirit of patriotism, it should overcome all. Selfish people don't spend this time, especially where you want for full people. It's like you want quick come and wrap up. But we take the time, here for present the issues to Sierra Leoneans them, and we appreciate Sierra Leoneans them with tuning. Another thing I want to make clear is we are gradually graduating from Facebook. We still use Facebook, but I'm happy because we do have a dedicated channel on YouTube. For we, YouTube is more of a valuable. We appreciate Facebook. This is we humble beginnings. Never going to look back on them, but we get many people and where they fetch we na Facebook. They send messages them to the authorities in Facebook, which is not true. Just so them go ban we or restrict we page. And they've been doing this for quite a while. And this is every time we host Chernoh, going back to in beginning them, where almost every Sierra Leonean, apart from diehard party picking them, not being SLPP party picking and not being the supporter. So we experience that same thing. Every time I open my page in the morning, video clip them will forget massive hits. They've restricted it because somebody complained about this. What have we said here? Which your amount to complain. But because the algorithm set and some people understand that then go complain, say, oh, they use one language, or the picture where they use now the background are copyright, blah, blah, blah. So therefore, they hold me to account and we get for go answer to that. I mean, we all can play this filthy game. Don't get me wrong, we can play the filthy game. Then where will be the space for that we all sort of, use for express with feelings, whether for or against. We need for stop this, man, Sierra Leoneans. Let's take use of this common echo space that, by some stroke of luck that they've provided us. Once again, thank you so much. And Fambule Magolefuna with this video for the last one before I close the program. Take a listen.
Resort to violence, we settle matters never again.
So that was a short clip from the former president, the late Dr. Ahmad Tijan Kaba, may his soul rest in eternal peace. What he showed he was a product of war. That is a big girl now. She's big. And she lost an arm. And the president will make an impassionate plea there that never is as a consequence of war. And I make that bikini lost an arm. She's now a woman, but imagine disabled don't lost an arm as a consequence of war. And waiting in Pabi, they say then it's never again that waiting happen should happen again. But Fambule, for goodness sake, whether you are green, red, rainbow, or whatever, we are gravitating towards that same process because of political power. The only people that can stop this is we the people. And when I say we the people, I mean the collective Sierra Leoneans them. Regardless of whose side you belong, open your eyes, let the wax drop biblically. Clean your ears, take the wax off so you go hear it. In behalf of the Then and Now Media Empire platform, I've been your producer and your anchor and host on this particular program. You will hear again from me shortly, like I've said, most likely on Sunday, God willing. Please remain tuned, and goodbye for now.